The chamber is open and full of green whispers. September 1991. Hogwarts dungeons. Well past midnight. Harry Potter sits in the Slytherin common room with a bag containing everything that still feels like it is his. A wand that is not quite comfortable in his hand yet. A school bag with ink stains on the flap. A folded timetable. A half-finished potions essay. And the sorting hat resting on the table like a guilty secret. The fire in the grate burns an unnatural emerald, throwing slow waves of light across the low stone ceiling. The room itself looks carved out of the black lake. The windows are long and narrow, set deep into the walls, and beyond the glass, the water presses close, heavy and dark. Something pale moves past, a shoal of fish or something larger, its shadow sliding over the ceiling in ripples of grey. The air tastes of damp stone and old magic, with a faint metallic tang, as if the lake has teeth. Harry pulls his robes tighter. The chill here is different from Privet Drive. It is not neglect. It is a chosen cold, a deliberate distance from the warm, noisy halls above. He can hear the distant rush of the black lake through the walls, a constant low roar under all other sounds, and under that, softer, the almost imagined hiss of unseen serpents moving in cracks he cannot see. Silver gleams when he moves, the green and silver tie still stiff from newness. The small, polished badge pinned where a prefect's would sit, marked with an ornate S and the coiled outline of a serpent. It is not authority, not yet. It is a promise of something he does not fully know. He leans forward, fingers resting on the brim of the hat. "You said I'd do well here," he whispers. His voice sounds wrong in this room, too thin for the stone. "What did you see?" The hat is still. Then, very softly, it answers, its voice a dry brush of cloth over rock. "Potential," it murmurs. "A mind that watches, a heart that survives, a talent for speaking to what others fear to name." Harry swallows. Images flicker at the edge of his thoughts. A flash of green light that is not the fire. A corridor lined with portraits turning to look. A snake uncoiling around a throne that is not quite empty. He has been planning this question since the first cheer went up from the Slytherin table, since he sat down among strangers and felt their eyes weigh him like galleons on a Gringotts scale. But why not? He stops. The word Gryffindor feels dangerous here, like saying Voldemort aloud in the leaky cauldron. The hat chuckles, a sound with no warmth. "Bravery is easy when the path is bright," it says. "What interests me is what you do when the torches go out." The fire guttering, the lake pressing closer. For a moment, the room seems to lean in. "Little lion in serpent's skin," a voice hisses from the darkness. Harry's hand flies to his wand. The words are not in English. They slide along his ears and straight into his bones. He knows, with the same certainty he knows his own name, that it is Parseltongue. "Who's there?" The question comes out in the same language, slick and sibilant. He hears himself and goes very still. Something moves behind one of the stone pillars, or nothing moves at all, and only the shadows shift. The emerald fire flares, then calms. "Air," the voice whispers. Amused now. The balance tilts, at last. Then only the rush of the black lake, the soft hiss in the walls, the small, uneven sound of his own breathing. Harry looks at the hat. The hat does not look back, but he feels it listening. Above him, far away, the castle sleeps in its old shapes, its old loyalties, unaware that one choice at a single table has cracked something in its foundations, hairline thin but real. Tonight is only the first sound of stone beginning to shift. Somewhere in the dark, something that has been waiting for generations opens its eyes. The world will walk differently now. Anchoring the Divergence, King's Cross, 1991. The world will walk differently now. But first, it walks through a train station. August 31st, 1991. King's Cross Station, just past 10 in the morning. The air smells of metal, coffee, and too many people in one place. Announcements echo from high speakers. Trains hiss and clatter. Harry stands very still in the middle of it, clutching a heavy trolley with both hands. On it, one battered trunk, one snowy owl in a cage, one folded letter with the words Platform 9 3/4 underlined twice. His shirt hangs off him. Dudley's old jeans drag on the floor. His glasses are taped at the bridge, the tape gone slightly yellow. The handle of the trolley digs into his palms as he walks. weaving through briefcases and pushchairs and the impatient shuffle of muggle feet that do not see him. He has been planning this without quite knowing he was planning it, counting the days on the calendar in the cupboard, reading and rereading Hagrid's letter until he knew every loop of the ink. Touching the key to his Gringotts vault at night, feeling the cool metal against his skin, proof that the magical world was not a dream that would vanish when the Dursleys banged on the door. He looks at the ticket again, platform 9 3/4. There is no such thing. He knows numbers. 9, 10, nothing between. The Dursleys had left him with the trolley and driven away fast, not even looking back. Of course they had. Of course they would send him somewhere he could not find. Nervous curiosity sits under his ribs, tight and bright. Fear curls under it, older, shaped like a cupboard and a hand reaching for his hair. Hope lies over both, thin as paper, but there, Hogwarts, a castle full of magic, a place that might be home if he can just reach it. He walks toward platforms 9 and 10, scanning the signs, the crowds, the brick. He is small, but his eyes are sharp. He listens. A word catches his ear, packed with muggles, of course. A plump woman with bright red hair and a trolley full of trunks walks past him, surrounded by children. One boy complains loudly about muggles. Another has a badge on his chest, Prefect. Harry's hands tighten on the trolley. He follows at a distance. He knows how to follow without being seen. Years of avoiding Dudley's gang have taught him that. The woman stops between the platforms, looks at the barrier, then at her sons. "Now, you all listen," she says. "Best do it at a bit of a run if you're nervous." Harry stares. The older boy walks straight at the pillar and vanishes. No flash, no sound. One step here, the next step gone. More than any description could contain. His heart thumps. This is it. This is the edge of the world he knows. He waits until the twins have gone, until the youngest boy hesitates. The boy looks worried, ears pink. Harry understands that feeling. Powerless in a crowd, afraid of being left behind. He chooses that moment. He walks up to the woman. "Excuse me," he says, voice careful. "Could you tell me how to get onto the platform?" Her face softens at once. "First time at Hogwarts? Ron's too?" She nods toward the youngest boy. Ron looks at Harry. Harry looks at Ron. A moment of understanding passes between them, thin but real. Both of them are on the outside of something, trying to get in. She shows him the pillar, explains. "Straight at it. Don't stop. Don't be afraid you'll crash." He nods, but his thoughts are already moving. A hidden gateway in a public station. A whole platform kept secret by a trick of sight and courage. How many other doors like this exist? Who controls them? Who gets left on the wrong side? He grips the trolley and faces the barrier. The bricks look solid. The crowd flows around him, not seeing, not knowing that one step will take him out of their world forever. He thinks of the cupboard, of locked doors, of letters snatched away, of Dursley hands closing around his wrist. Never again. He has been planning this, he realizes, in every small act of defiance he never dared finish. Now there is no one to stop him but himself. He runs. For a moment there is only brick rushing up to meet him. Then cool air, steam, the shriek of a whistle. Red and gold and black iron. The Hogwarts Express. Harry stumbles to a halt on platform 9 3/4. Families in robes, owls. Cats, laughter, arguments. The smell of coal and magic. He looks at the scarlet engine, at the arches of the station, at the clusters of parents bending over their children. His chest aches. This is what a homecoming looked like. But a new thought has begun to root itself, quiet and hard. Not just where do I belong, but how do I make sure I am never at anyone's mercy again? He stands there, caught between wonder and that sharper question, as the steam curls around him like a promise the castle has not yet learned to fear. A boy between houses, setting up Harry's inner conflict. The train is a corridor of noise and new beginnings. Inside his compartment, Harry sits very still and lets it all wash past him. Laughter in the next carriage, an argument about a misplaced toad, the clatter of sweets on the trolley. He looks, listens, counts. Every open door is a glimpse into a different life. Polished trunks with family crests, second-hand cases held too tightly, groups that already move as one. He has been planning this without quite knowing it. training himself at Privet Drive to read the room before it turns on him. He watches faces in the glass as they pass, who leans forward when they say Hogwarts, who flinches at the word war, who looks like they already know everything and who is bluffing. Questions line up in his mind like chess pieces. He tests the first one when the red-haired boy asks to sit with him. Ron drops into the seat, arms full of sandwiches and hope. Harry's eyes flick to the wand poking from Ron's pocket, the patched robe, the way he talks as if the magical world is both ordinary and sacred. Harry nudges the conversation, careful, precise. Houses first, Quidditch, then darker things, you know who. He downplays his own name as if it belongs to someone else, shrugs off the story on the chocolate frog card, but he listens very closely when Ron talks about Gryffindor courage and Slytherin evil. Ron's voice sharpens when he says Slytherin. His nose wrinkles like the word itself smells bad. Dad says there wasn't a witch or wizard who went bad that wasn't in Slytherin. Harry nods, but inside, he files the sentence where he keeps Dudley's lies and Aunt Petunia's stories about his parents. Secondhand, emotional, useful, but not the whole truth. If Slytherin is that hated, what kind of power does it hold inside the castle? The corridor interrupts them, a pale boy with pointed features and two solid shadows at his back. Draco Malfoy looks at Harry like he is inspecting property he might buy. Their earlier meeting in Madame Malkin's hangs between them, that casual contempt for Weasleys and Hagrid, the easy assumption of his own importance. Draco speaks about Slytherin as if the house is a birthright and a weapon, about the right sort of people, about influence at Hogwarts the way Vernon spoke about promotions at the drill company. Harry feels a flicker of wary curiosity. This too is a map. One boy who trashes Slytherin from the outside, another who treats it as the only place that matters. Between them, a gap he might walk. When they leave, the compartment is briefly, shockingly quiet. Harry is alone with the hum of the train and the Hogwarts crest on his trunk. Lion, eagle, badger, serpent. 4 animals sharing one shield. 4 futures compressed into a single painted space. He traces the serpent with his eyes and wonders, not where he will be put, but what kind of person he will have to become to survive whatever choice the hat makes, and if survival in this new world will ever be enough. The Sorting Hat's second thought, rewriting the choice. The hall is a sky full of candles, shadows, smoke, a ceiling that looks like open night. Hundreds of faces turn toward a single wooden stool and a frayed old hat that should not feel dangerous, and somehow does. Harry walks with every eye on him. The 4 tables, the staff table, the glitter of plates and goblets, the whisper that runs along the benches as McGonagall calls his name, Harry Potter. It rolls through the air like something between a prayer and a warning. He grips the edge of the stool harder than he means to. The hat slips down over his eyes. Darkness. The hall disappears. It smells of dust and age and something sharper, like cold iron and old ink. A voice says in his ear. Difficult, very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind. Talent. Oh my, yes. And a thirst to prove yourself. That is interesting. Harry waits for the rest. He has been planning this moment without knowing it, ever since Hagrid said there were 4 houses and one of them had produced the darkest wizard of all time. He knows what the hat said to him in that other world. He remembers the warning in Hagrid's voice on the rock, the way Ron's ears went pink when he talked about Slytherin on the train. Plenty of potential for Slytherin, the hat continues, pleased. You could be great there, you know. His throat tightens around the words he is supposed to say. Not Slytherin. He hears them in his head like a line from a letter he has already written and not yet sent. Instead, he thinks, careful, almost formal. What would Slytherin give me? There's a pause. The hat feels heavier. Ambition, it says slowly. The permission to want more than survival. Resourcefulness. You have that already, boy. Cupboards and locked doors and adults who look away will teach it to anyone. Leadership. You draw eyes without trying. You hate it and you need it. Self-preservation. The understanding that it is not wrong to live when others would see you broken. Images flicker. Dudley's gang. The Dursleys' kitchen. A world where being small and quiet and underestimated almost killed him before magic ever had the chance. He thinks of Gringotts, of marble floors and goblin eyes that looked at him and saw numbers, titles, blood inheritance, power he did not know existed. He thinks of how quickly that power changed the way everyone spoke. Gryffindor would give you stories, the hat murmurs. Glory, noble friends, brave deaths. The last word is soft, almost kind. Harry's hands curl on the stool. Stories have never fed him. Glory has never unlocked a cupboard door. What keeps me safest? He asks. In Slytherin, the hat answers, and now there is no hesitation at all. You will learn to see the board instead of only the next move. You will have allies who value strength, secrets that others pretend do not exist, teachers who will not underestimate you. Knowledge as armor, power as shield. You could change the shape of this war before it reaches you. He thinks of green and silver instead of red and gold, of sitting with Draco Malfoy instead of Ron Weasley, of Dumbledore looking down from the high table and seeing not a lion to guide but a serpent to watch. He looks at that future as if it is a vault door in the bank, heavy and closed and waiting for the right key. He does not say not Slytherin. He thinks very clearly. Then give me that. The hat draws in a breath that is not a breath. For a heartbeat, the hall is only candlelight and waiting. Slytherin! It shouts. Silence. A stunned, ringing stillness. Harry cannot see the faces, but he can feel them. The whole hall looking. More than any description could contain. Then the Slytherin table erupts, sharp and uneven. Applause and shock, and something wary threaded through the cheers. At the staff table, a chair scrapes. Somewhere, Hermione Granger's hand goes still on the bench. He lifts the hat off, steps down, and walks toward the serpents. Every step, a choice that will not be undone. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them, thin as a whisper, before the first whisper of Slytherin curls through the air and changes everything. Green, welcome, red, rejection. First ripples in the hall. The hall holds its breath. Then sound returns all at once. The clatter of cutlery, the rustle of robes, the hiss of 100 whispers trying not to be heard. Harry walks the length of the great hall toward a table he never imagined as his, the green and silver banners above him stirring as if they too are turning to look. To his left, Gryffindor explodes in low, stunned noise. A red-headed boy he met on the train, Ron, stares at him, mouth open, ears flushing almost the same color as his hair. This was not how the story was supposed to go. Ron's shoulders slump, like someone has quietly taken away a gift he was already picturing. Late-night chess, shared jokes, a famous best friend who makes the world less ordinary. 2 seats down from Ron, Hermione Granger does not slump. She goes very still, quills set precisely beside her plate, hands folded, eyes narrowed in thought. She tracks Harry's walk like a problem on a blackboard. Slytherin, the house with the worst reputation in every book she has read. The house the hat almost pushed on him, she suspects, long before it shouted the word. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. More question than answer. He has been planning this, her expression seems to say. Or at least, he has been planning not to be helpless. Further along, the Ravenclaw table hums with speculation. Blood inheritance, someone whispers. Old families. A boy with ink on his fingers starts listing famous Slytherins under his breath. At Hufflepuff, the whispers are softer, more worried than excited. But he seemed nice, a girl says, sounding almost betrayed, as if Slytherin is a verdict on his soul. At the staff table, Dumbledore's face does not change much. A small tightening around the eyes, a flicker that might be disappointment or interest or both. His fork pauses halfway to his plate. He recalculates. Harry knows nothing of it, but the headmaster is already rearranging pieces in a game that has been going on since before Harry was born. Snape's reaction is not a flicker. It is a blow. James Potter's face, in Slytherin colours. The black hair, the glasses, the stubborn jaw, all wrong against green and silver. His jaw tightens. His fingers curl once against the table edge. Slytherin, his house. Lily's son, sitting where James once sneered. The old grudges surge up, then stall. This changes things. He has been planning this year around a Gryffindor boy he could safely hate. Now he will have to see that face every night at his own table. The Slytherins make room as Harry reaches them. A prefect with a silver badge and sleek dark hair slides aside, gesture smooth, almost courtly. "Potter," she says, tone polite, eyes sharp. "Welcome to Slytherin." Around her, reactions ripple. A few smirks of triumph, a few narrowed, suspicious looks, and, unexpectedly, a cluster of genuine curiosity. The boy who lived in their house. their potential shield against suspicion, their possible symbol, their probable pawn. Draco Malfoy watches Harry approach the gap on the bench that has opened beside him. Triumph burns bright. Of course Potter is Slytherin, of course he saw it first. But under it, there's a thin, cold line of unease. The story of Hogwarts was supposed to center Draco. Now the whole hall is looking past him. Pattern interrupt. For a heartbeat, Harry considers walking straight past the empty space by Draco and choosing a quieter corner. Some neutral boy whose name he does not yet know. He imagines how that would look. A statement. A refusal to be claimed. He sits beside Draco anyway. They look at each other. More than any description could contain passes between pale grey and bright green. Rivalry, alliance, the possibility of friendship, the certainty of conflict. Draco lifts his chin first. Everyone's staring, he murmurs, not quite pleased, not quite displeased. I noticed, Harry says. His voice comes out calm. That, more than anything, seems to impress the nearest Slytherins. Glasses clink. A sixth year at the far end of the table raises his goblet, waits until the murmur dies. To Harry Potter, he announces, voice carrying cleanly through the hall. Our newest snake. There is a faint edge of challenge in the word. May he bring honour to Slytherin and know where his loyalties lie. The house echoes the toast, some warmly, some warily. Harry lifts his own goblet, feeling the weight of 100 eyes. The press of expectation, like a new set of robes settling on his shoulders. He has stepped into a world of old alliances and older grudges. Tonight, the question is simple and impossible at once. Will Slytherin shape him, or will he reshape Slytherin? He drinks, and the first test begins. Down to the dungeons, claiming a serpent's den. The hall dissolves into motion and noise. Benches scrape, robes whisper. The first years are gathered by their prefects like loose pieces on a chessboard being nudged into place. Harry falls in with the knot of green-trimmed robes. The Slytherin prefect, a tall boy, with a silver badge and a careful, measuring look, counts them once, then again. This way. His voice is low, controlled. No need to shout. They walk out of the Great Hall, past the blazing torches, past the familiar light. Down. The stone steps curve away from the warmth of the upper corridors. The air cools, then cools again, like someone slowly turning down a dial. Harry listens to the echo of their footsteps, the hollow ring against ancient stone, the way every sound seems to go ahead of them into the dark. He has been planning this escape from Privet Drive for years without knowing its shape, reading every letter that mentioned Hogwarts, every whisper about the magical world, imagining towers and sunlight and banners. Instead, he is going underground. They pass fewer windows, then none. Torches burn greenish here, as if even the flames have been persuaded to change allegiance. The castle feels heavier above them, layers of rock and history pressing down. Harry can almost feel the distance from the sky as a physical thing. A line stretching from his chest back up through ceilings and staircases to that patch of enchanted, star-filled air. A bare stretch of wall. The prefect stops. He looks over the first years, gaze lingering on Harry for a heartbeat longer than on the others. Pureblood, half-blood, muggle-born. He is counting something more than heads. Serpent's vigil. The stones ripple, then pull back, revealing a low, arched doorway. No portrait. No password anyone else can overhear. Just stone that chooses whether to open. The Slytherin common room is not what Harry expected. It is stranger, eerie, but beautiful. The ceiling is low and vaulted, held by carved stone pillars that rise from the floor like frozen waves. Lamps of green glass hang from iron chains. Their light mixes with another, softer glow that seeps in through tall, narrow windows set directly into the dungeon wall. Beyond the glass, water, dark and shifting, the body of the lake itself pressing close. Shapes move there. A long shadow, a flick of fin, a pale face that might be a merperson watching back. The light that filters through is tinted green, moving constantly, so that every surface, leather chairs, polished tables, the silver threads on the rugs, seems to breathe. There is sound, but not much. A quiet hum of conversation, the soft turn of pages, a quill scratching. It feels like a bank that has existed for centuries, like Gringotts, full of guarded treasures and older rules. Power is here, but it is the restrained kind, the kind that looks up when you enter and silently recalculates. Older students drift closer, not in a rush, in eddies. A dark-haired girl with a prefect badge asks about his classes with polite interest that is not really about classes at all. A boy with the Malfoy profile, but not Draco, wonders aloud what it was like growing up in the Muggle world. Someone else mentions the war without naming Voldemort, talks instead about those years and certain families on our side. They test him the way a snake might test with its tongue, tasting the air around his answers. Do you believe blood matters? Do you think the Daily Prophet tells you everything? Do you imagine the boy who lived owes anyone his loyalty by default? Harry answers with cautious honesty, and with something else he has never been allowed before: choice. He says he knows what it is to be judged for the wrong reasons, that blood did not protect him on a cupboard floor. He says fame feels like a story someone else wrote without asking. He does not say Dumbledore's name. He does not say Voldemort's. He lets silences do some of the work. I suppose I'd like to understand the truth before I choose any side, he adds, as if it is an afterthought. It is not. He has been planning this too, in a way, how not to be owned again. A few older Slytherins exchange glances. A moment of understanding passes between them, or at least recognition. This one will not be easy to push. Later, in the first-year boys' dormitory, the world narrows to stone, water, and breath. The room is circular, lined with heavy green curtains and dark wood. His trunk at the foot of his bed, his wand on the bedside table, a bag containing everything he owns, second-hand robes, a spare shirt, a folded letter from Gringotts he has read 3 times. He lies back. The mattress gives a little, unfamiliar, but solid. Above him, muffled and vast, is the lake. He can hear it as a low, constant murmur, like distant traffic translated into another language. Every so often there is a heavier sound, a thud or a drag, as something large moves along the lake bed or brushes the outer wall. In Gryffindor, he thinks, he would be closer to the sky, closer to the sunlit courtyards and the open windows where owls come and go. Here, he is closer to the deep places, to secrets that prefer the dark. Hogwarts will not be the simple escape he imagined. It is not a clean break from the Dursleys into a world of easy heroes and obvious villains. It is another set of systems, another web of expectations, another place where people look at him and see what they want. But here, in the quiet green dimness, he feels something else as well. Possibility. If Slytherin is a den of serpents, then he is already inside. He can learn where the tunnels lead. He can listen before anyone knows he is listening. He closes his eyes, hearing the water, feeling the castle around him like a living thing. For the first time, the thought comes not as a wish, but as a plan. Maybe, down here, he can learn to control his fate instead of waiting for the next letter, the next order, the next attack. Above, the lake shifts. Below, in the dungeons, Harry Potter begins to imagine what it would mean not just to survive Slytherin, but to claim it. New house, new mirror. Harry's Slytherin identity begins. The mirror is small and slightly warped. It hangs between 2 green-draped beds, catching torchlight and the slow movement of the black lake beyond the window. Harry stands in front of it, barefoot on cold stone, Slytherin robes hanging from his shoulders, green and silver. A serpent coiled over his heart. For a heartbeat, he does not recognize the boy looking back. Then, disturbingly, he does. The tie is the strangest part. Stripes of colour he has never been allowed to choose for himself, neat where Dudley's old things were always sagging and wrong. He fumbles the knot once, twice, then gets it. He has been planning this without knowing it. Every time he straightened his too big collar before facing Vernon. Presentable, invisible, safe. Now the same careful hands smooth a robe that marks him as anything but invisible. Draco passes behind him, already perfect in his uniform. He looks once at Harry's reflection, once at the crest, says nothing, a small nod, almost professional, and he walks on. The acknowledgement lands heavier than any insult would have. At breakfast, the shift continues. McGonagall pauses when she reaches the Slytherin table with timetables in hand. Her mouth tightens by a fraction. "Mr. Potter," she says, crisp, contained, as if each word has been weighed. "See that you keep up." No welcoming smile, no quiet aside about his parents. Just that measured disappointment, folded away like a letter never sent. Flitwick, later, is different. He looks over the rim of his spectacles when Harry answers a charm correctly on the first try. Surprise, then careful neutrality. like a duelist choosing not to show whether a spell has landed. "Very good, Mr. Potter," he says, voice light but balanced on purpose. Harry recognizes the tactic. Never let them know everything. Snape is not neutral. In potions, his gaze is a blade. "Our new celebrity," he says, but the word "our" catches. There is scorn there and something like reluctant ownership. When Harry measures ingredients with steady hands, when his potion does not curdle, Snape's expression does not soften, it sharpens. House points are awarded to Slytherin, not to Harry. Pride without warmth, claim without comfort. Between classes, Harry watches his house, who walks at the center of each knot of students, who falls silent when a name like Knott or Parkinson is spoken, who trades favors for homework, for gossip, for introductions to older cousins with seats in the Wizengamot. Influence moves through the common room like currents under the lake. He starts mapping it the way he once mapped Privet Drive, safe pavements, which neighbors might look away, which would call Vernon. Now, it is whose father sits on which board at Gringotts, whose mother writes which kind of letter to the headmaster, whose family tree tangles with Malfoy or Black. He listens more than he speaks, files away surnames, little tells, the way someone's eyes flicker at the word Muggleborn. He looks at Hermione across the hall once, sees her watching Slytherin like a puzzle. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them, thin but real, before they both turn back to their tables. By the third night, alone in the dormitory, Harry studies the serpent on his chest again. Slytherin talks openly of survival, of strategy, of choosing the winning side and making sure it is yours. It should feel wrong. Instead, it feels familiar, like the quiet calculations he did under the stairs. He admits it only to himself in the dark. Part of him is relieved. No one here expects a shining Gryffindor hero. They expect him to endure, to plan, to win. And that, in this new world of stone and whispers, might be more than any description could contain. Hermione, across the aisle, a different first impression. The classroom is bright and full of dust motes. Wands up, chairs scraped back, whispers running under the surface like a low current. Charms with Professor Flitwick. First week. Hermione Granger sits in the front row, spine straight, quill poised. She has been planning this since her Hogwarts letter arrived. Every spell in the first year book practiced, every wand movement memorized, every historical footnote underlined twice. She knows everything the books can give her. What she does not know is how to look at the boy in green, Harry Potter, the boy who lived, and, impossibly, a Slytherin. She had listened on the train. Ron Weasley's muttered warnings about Slytherins, the way older Gryffindors in the common room said Malfoy's name with a kind of tired disgust. She files each comment away like an entry in a ledger. Dangerous, ambitious, untrustworthy. Then she remembers the way Harry looked on the platform, lost and quiet, and the way he refused Malfoy's hand at the tables. The columns do not balance. Flitwick calls roll, nearly falls off his stack of books when he reaches Harry's name. Laughter ripples. Hermione glances back before she can stop herself. He looks different from the stories, smaller, watchful. His tie a slash of silver and green. He feels her eyes on him, looks up. He looks at her. She looks at him. A beat too long. She turns away, cheeks hot. She wants to ask him everything. About the attack. About the night no one remembers properly, but everyone talks about. About what it feels like to walk into a world that already decided who you are. But between them, it's a strip of stone floor and a line of house colours, and she has been warned. Wingardium Leviosa. Feathers on desks. Flitwick demonstrates the swish and flick. Hermione's feather lifts on the first try, steady, controlled, rising like she has rehearsed this exact moment. Harry's does not at first. He watches her instead, watches the way she narrows her eyes, adjusts her wrist, corrects herself without waiting for praise. There is an intensity there he recognizes. A quiet, relentless push to be better, to understand more than any description could contain. Ambition, he thinks, but not Malfoy's kind. The sort that would fit in Slytherin if the scarf around her neck were green. Pattern interrupt. Her hand goes up before her mind can catch up. "You're saying it a bit too sharply," she hears herself say, turning toward him despite the knot in her stomach. "It's more of a smooth gar in the middle. And your wand angle is off." a Gryffindor correcting a Slytherin. The air shifts. For a moment, house lines blur. He tries it her way. The feather twitches, then lifts, wobbling but undeniably airborne. He lets out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Thanks," he says, simple, unguarded. A moment of understanding passes between them. Not friendship. Not yet. Just recognition. Another person who has been planning this, who measures themselves against an invisible standard and refuses to fall short. In Transfiguration, McGonagall turns her desk into a pig and back again. Hermione takes notes so fast her hand cramps. She notices, without wanting to, that Harry's matchstick becomes a needle before Ron's, that he listens closely even when Snape's house would give him permission to coast. She adds a new line in her mental ledger. Harry Potter, Slytherin, does not act like Malfoy. ? She intends to solve it. Snape's dilemma. James's son in his own house. The dungeon classroom is colder than the lake above it. Glass gleams, copper cauldrons shine. Slytherins and Gryffindors file in, green and red threading between the workbenches like opposing currents. Harry walks with his house. He feels their eyes on him, measuring. Malfoy takes the seat at his right, as if it was always his. Blaise slides in on his left, unreadable. Across the aisle, Hermione settles beside a nervous Neville, quill already uncapped. She looks at him. He looks at her. A moment of understanding passes between them. Different houses. Same test. Snape sweeps in, robes cutting the air. The door slams. The murmurs die. He has been planning this, Harry realizes, the way some people plan a duel. Every step measured, every silence sharpened. There will be no foolish wand-waving or silly incantations in this class, Snape says, voice low, carrying. The words are familiar from the book Hermione pressed on him in the train, but the way he looks at Harry is not. As such, I do not expect many of you to appreciate the subtle science and exact art that is potion-making. His gaze passes over Gryffindor, dismissive. When it returns to Slytherin, it hardens. Especially those who imagine that a famous name is an adequate substitute for discipline. The Slytherins know exactly who he means. Their attention sharpens, not hostile yet, but curious. How will the boy who lived answer their head of house? Harry feels the barb land. James's son. Gryffindor troublemaker. Snape has already written the letter in his mind and decided he knows everything it says. Harry could snap back. He could ask why a master of the exact art cannot distinguish between students and ghosts. Instead, he lowers his eyes to his parchment and writes, subtle science, exact art, not surrender, calculation, a Slytherin choice. Snape begins his questions. Potter, he says abruptly, what would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood? The tone invites failure. The Slytherins lean in. Gryffindors brace. Harry answers, not perfectly, but close. He has been planning this first week, reading his texts twice, marking the margins. Snape's eyes narrow. The next question is harder, the next phrased with a twist, the next an opening for Harry to sound arrogant if he overreaches. Harry does not take the bait. When he does not know, he says, quietly, I don't know, sir, and writes the term down to look up later. It frustrates Snape. It intrigues him more. Because here is the problem. This is his own house. These are the children he is meant to shield. To publicly humiliate Harry is to tell Slytherin their supposed star is hollow, that their head of house misjudged, that his favoritism is a lie. To praise him is to admit James Potter's son excels under his eye. So Snape threads the needle. He ignores correct answers. He corrects minor errors with cutting precision. His sarcasm coils not around Gryffindors this time, but around the empty space where praise should be. The Slytherins notice. Malfoy's smirk fades into something more thoughtful. Blaise watches both teacher and class, calculating how this will shift the internal map of influence. When they finally brew, the room fills with steam and the soft clink of knives on boards. Harry's hands move steadily. Peel, slice, stir. Clockwise, then counterclockwise, counting under his breath. He remembers every instruction, but more than that, he watches the potion itself. The way the surface tension changes when the heat is right. The way the color deepens when the valerian root is added slowly instead of all at once. He adjusts, just slightly, not breaking any rule, only listening to the potion the way he once listened to the wind under his cupboard door. his cauldron's contents shift to the exact shade the book describes, then a fraction richer, as if responding to his attention. Snape stops behind him without warning. Harry feels the weight of that presence before he hears the breath catch. Lily, Snape thinks, unbidden. The careful hands. The way she used to look at a brewing cauldron as if it were speaking. Interesting, Snape says softly, too soft for most of the room. Not praise, not yet. More like the first line of a new, unwanted chapter. He moves on, but he does not really move on. Harry can feel it. The scrutiny has changed. It is no longer the lazy contempt reserved for James's shadow. It is something tighter, more dangerous, as if Snape has discovered a potion he did not mean to brew and is now watching to see whether it cures or kills. Harry keeps his eyes on the simmering surface. He does not look up. Not now. He will have to. Soon. Draco, rival or reflection. Redrawing the Malfoy dynamic. The common room is low and green and full of watching. Later that week, after Snape's new scrutiny has settled over Slytherin like a second set of wards, Harry steps through the stone archway behind a pair of fifth years and feels the room tilt just slightly as faces turn. The lake light ripples on the ceiling. Silver, green, pale skin, dark wood. A world built for people who already know the rules. Draco Malfoy is waiting by the fire as if he has been planning this. One elbow on the mantle, posture casual, eyes sharp. Crabbe and Goyle close as bookends. A few other first years scattered nearby, pretending not to listen. Pansy on a sofa, legs tucked under her, watching everything. Potter, Draco says, smooth as polished marble. You picked the right house. Lucky for you, some of us actually know how Slytherin works. Harry stops a few feet away. Not too close. Not defensive. Just there. He looks at Draco's hand as it makes a small, dismissive circle, taking in the room, the tapestries, the sleeping giant of house politics. Draco begins to talk, about which older students to avoid, which prefects can be bribed with homework help, which ones report directly to Snape, how the pureblood families interlock like a living family tree. He sprinkles in names Harry half recognizes from the bank, from Gringotts ledgers and the quiet, expensive corners of Diagon Alley. Malfoy, Knott, Parkinson, Flint. It sounds less like gossip and more like a map. The offer is clear, insider knowledge, pure blood approval, a ready-made place in the structure. All Harry has to do is stand where Draco points. Harry listens. He files away every name, every sideways glance. He asks small, precise questions that make Draco preen. But when Draco says lightly, "Of course, we all know where we stand on mudbloods here," Harry does not nod on cue. He lets the word hang, looks at Draco, looks past him, briefly, to the others. They look at each other, quick, assessing. A moment of understanding passes between them, and then Harry speaks. "I don't use that word," he says, calm, not loud. "And I don't let other people use it about my friends." There is a tiny intake of breath from the sofa. Pansy, maybe. Someone drops a quill. The fire cracks. Draco blinks. Only once, but it is enough. "It's just how things are said," he answers. Tone still smooth, but there is a new, thin edge. Everyone you know," Harry says. "I'm learning different." He does not launch into a speech about equality. He does not storm out. He simply stands there, unbothered, as if refusing a term is as natural as refusing a second helping of pudding. The rejection is quiet, surgical, more than any description could contain. Around them, Slytherin recalibrates. A few older students lean back, interested. One of the Greengrass girls tilts her head, as if measuring a new variable. Some of the first years close ranks around Draco. Others angle their chairs toward Harry, without moving their feet. Draco feels it. The center of gravity shifting by a fraction, not away from him, but no longer entirely his. Harry has taken the information and left the leash. Later, in his four-poster, Draco stares up at the canopy and replays the scene. Potter in green. Potter with Snape's attention. Potter who will not be bought by a name, a word, a practiced sneer. He has been planning this year since before the Hogwarts letter, since his father's stories of fame and prophecy and the boy who lived. Now he is not sure whether he has gained an ally or discovered a rival who might, one day, own the room simply by walking into it. For the first time, Draco Malfoy realizes there is one person in Slytherin whose approval will not come in a neat, purchased package. He wants it anyway. And that desire, quiet and unspoken, is its own kind of danger. A troll in the dungeons, a different kind of heroism. Candles tremble above the house tables. For a heartbeat, the Great Hall feels like it is holding its breath. Halloween at Hogwarts. The ceiling is a storm of carved pumpkins and drifting bats, the air thick with sugar and roasted meat. Harry sits at the Slytherin table, green and silver banners at his back, his plate mostly untouched as he looks across the hall. Gryffindor's table is a blaze of red and gold. He finds Hermione almost without thinking, hunched over a plate, talking too fast, hands moving as if she is still holding a book. He has been planning this evening as a test, watching how the houses mix, who walks where, who laughs too loudly when professors look away. Mapping the social world of Hogwarts the way he once mapped Privet Drive, silently, carefully. He notes that Hermione sits near the edge of the Gryffindor crowd, close enough to listen, not quite close enough to belong. The doors slam open. Quirrell stumbles in, turban askew, face white. His voice cracks against the stone. "Troll, in the dungeons. Thought you ought to know." Then he collapses. For a second, there is only the echo of the word, dungeons. Every Slytherin at the table goes still. Their territory, their common room, their beds and trunks and everything they own. The noise that erupts from the other tables does not reach them the same way. For Slytherin, this is not a story. It is a breach. Harry's mind moves before his body does. Who is down there? First years sent back early. Someone in the bathroom. Someone who does not know the layout. His eyes cut back to the Gryffindor table, to the space where Hermione should be. It is empty. McGonagall's voice rises, trying to impose order, driving the houses toward their dormitories. Snape is already moving, black robes snapping. But he looks at Harry as he passes, a brief, sharp, measuring look, then is gone. Pattern broken, authority moving away from the danger, not toward it. Harry stands. Draco, not. Greengrass. Quiet, precise. He does not raise his voice, but they hear him anyway. She's missing. Granger, and the troll is in our corridors. Draco hesitates, torn between fear and the insult to their house. Greengrass looks pale, but steady. Knott's eyes narrow, calculating. A moment of understanding passes between them. House first. Territory first. This is not about a Gryffindor girl. Not only. He sketches the plan in clipped phrases as they walk, slipping into side passages only Slytherins bother to learn. One to fetch a prefect if they see one. One to run ahead and check corners. Two with him. No shouting. No heroics. Stone under their feet, torches blurring as they move deeper. He knows the dungeons already, has been walking them at odd hours, counting turns, listening to the castle breathe. They find the troll outside the girls' bathroom, door splintered, stench rolling out like a physical thing. Hermione is inside. Harry steps forward, wand up, voice level. Greengrass, left. Draco, distracted. Not. Be ready to pull her out. The words come out cold and clear. He has been planning this without knowing it. Every chess game with Draco. Every map in his head of escape routes and bottlenecks. The fight is messy, loud, nothing like the neat diagrams in his mind, but the structure holds. Spells to the eyes, to the nose, to the club hand. A trip jinx at just the right moment. Stone that was once a threat becomes a weapon as the troll crashes into a pillar and goes down. When the dust settles, Hermione is pressed against a cracked sink, shaking, eyes huge. She looks at him. She looks at the green tie at his throat, the steady line of his wand, the way he is already checking his housemates for injuries before he turns back to her. They look at each other. More than any description could contain passes in that silence. Every book she has read about dark wizards, every warning about Slytherin, every time she has watched him from across the hall and thought she knew what he was. "Can you walk?" he asks. She nods, voice gone. For the first time, Hermione Granger knows that the boy who saved her stands with Slytherin at his back, and that knowledge will not fit neatly into any story she has been told. Earning serpent loyalty, the aftermath of the troll. The common room is dim and green and full of whispers. Later that night, after Madame Pomfrey, after questions from McGonagall that Harry answers with careful, clipped facts, Slytherin gathers. The fire throws scales of light across faces. First years huddle together on the low sofas. Older students lean against pillars, pretending not to listen, and listening to everything. The story moves in fragments. A prefect saw him lead the line away from the troll, not toward it. A second year swears Harry counted doors, checked every alcove, made them walk faster, but not run. Someone else repeats the way he stepped in front of a crying first year when the ceiling shook. No one quite agrees on how he faced the troll, only that he did, and that he refused to talk about it when they reached safety. He sits in the corner nearest the wall, hands wrapped around a mug of too hot tea. Draco is across the room, telling the story with more drama than accuracy. But even he cannot make Harry the reckless hero. The facts will not bend that way. Harry prioritized Slytherin territory, Slytherin bodies, Slytherin reputation. He has been planning this, some of them think, not the troll, but the way he moves when danger comes, the way he already knows the corridors like a map. A fifth-year girl with a prefect badge looks at him longer than is polite. Later, when the younger ones drift toward bed, she stops him at the stairs. If any of the first years have trouble sleeping, Potter, you see to it they come to me. Her tone says, order. The glance she gives him says something closer to delegation. Protector. Not official, not spoken aloud, but there. Usually that weight belongs to prefects and the Quidditch captain. Tonight, some of it shifts. Snape's summons comes the next afternoon. His office smells of potions and old stone. The lecture is brutal, reckless, arrogant. 10 different school rules recited like a litany. Harry stands still, listens, accepts the words because most of them are true. Then Snape's voice changes, barely. You defended your house's corridor, he says. You kept the first years together. You did not abandon them. A pause, thin as a knife edge. Do not mistake this for approval, Potter. But he does not take points. He gives a week of detention, and in that week, Harry sees how Snape watches him during class, as if recalculating a problem whose answer has shifted. Draco feels it first. The way conversations tilt when Harry walks into the room. The way a pureblood name no longer ends every argument. He has the right ancestry, the right stories about old families, the right sneer. Harry has none of that. Only a famous scar and a way of standing that makes frightened children edge closer. It is not supposed to be enough. Yet older Slytherins start asking Harry's opinion on patrol routes, on which staircase is safest, on whether rumours about the troll mean something larger. He pushes back once in the dormitory. Blood matters, he says sharply. It's the world we live in. Harry looks at him. He looks at Harry. A moment of understanding passes between them, complicated and unfinished. Harry does not argue blood. He argues results. Who kept them alive last night? He asks quietly. The answer hangs in the air, more than any description could contain. 2 days later, as Harry walks alone toward the library, a small hand tugs his sleeve. A first-year girl, eyes wide, voice barely above a whisper. Thank you, she says. For the troll. My brother's in third year. He said you made them stay calm. She hesitates, then adds, soft and certain. You're our Harry. The word sticks. Our. Not the boy who lived. Not Dumbledore's pawn. Slytherin's. He watches her walk away. Cloak too long, steps quick. Somewhere in the castle, news is moving faster than any letter could travel, twisting loyalties, rewriting quiet oaths. Harry feels the shape of it without yet knowing its name. In the shadows at the end of the corridor, someone else has been listening. Quidditch in green, politics on the pitch. The pitch is a bowl of noise and wind and watching eyes. October, first flying lesson. Grass damp, brooms splintered, sky low and grey. Harry stands with the Slytherins and Gryffindors in 2 uneven lines, feeling the broom handle under his palm, feeling the way the air seems to lean toward him. He has been planning this without knowing it, every chaste schoolyard gust, every wish to simply lift away from Privet Drive. Neville's fall is the same. The scream, the thud, Madame Hooch's sharp orders as she marches him off to the hospital wing, the remembrall glinting in the grass, Malfoy's taunt, the throw. Harry moves before thought can catch him. The world tilts, broom rising cleanly into his hand, then surging upward, chasing the tiny glass sphere as if it were the only real thing in the sky. What changes is who is watching closely. Marcus Flint, Slytherin captain, is already on the stands, having slipped out under the excuse of a headache. He looks like a collection of angles and old bruises, jaw tight, eyes narrowed. He watches Harry dive, level out, roll, then snatch the remembrall with a reach that is more instinct than technique. more hunger than form. Flint does not cheer. He calculates. The boy who lived in Slytherin colours is one kind of advantage. The boy who lived as Slytherin's seeker is another entirely. By dinner, the story has grown teeth. Gryffindors mutter that McGonagall should have had him, that losing him to Slytherin was bad enough. Losing him on the pitch is sacrilege. At the Slytherin table, the older students speak more softly, but the word coup appears, and no one laughs it away. Harry hears snatches as he walks past. Tradition, house pride, sponsorships, the cup. Snape hears more than snatches. As head of house, he signs the permission slip for Harry's special broom with a hand that does not quite tremble. A nimbus for a first year. He has been planning this, or something like it, since the sorting, building Slytherin's prestige around their unexpected prize. Yet every time he looks at Harry, he also sees James, sees Lily, sees a boy marked for death and now expected to fly under 1,000 eyes. When he volunteers to referee the first Slytherin versus Gryffindor match, the staff room goes silent. Snape hides his motives behind a curl of lip and a comment about safety. In truth, he wants control. If anything happens, he will be there, wand already in hand. The day of the match, the stands are a tapestry of red and gold, green and silver, and a third colour that has no banner. Divided loyalty. Hermione sits between houses, literally. She has chosen a neutral section of the stands with a book in her lap and her eyes on the sky. He looks at her, she looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them that no one else can see. Madame Hooch's whistle. Brooms kick off. Harry rises smoothly, feeling the nimbus answer him like a living thing. He circles once, twice, testing the currents, testing the crowd. The cheers are uneven. Gryffindor roars when Wood makes a save, then falls into a jagged hush when Harry streaks past in green. Some boo. Some cannot quite bring themselves to. The snitch appears near the Gryffindor stands, a flicker of gold against scarlet scarves. Harry dives. The other seeker follows, older, heavier, desperate. Wind claws at Harry's face. The ground rushes up. For a moment he is nothing but motion and intent, a straight line between sky and earth. Fingers close around metal. He pulls up so late that half the stadium screams. He lands with the snitch held high. The Slytherin section explodes. Flint whoops, actually whoops, lifting Harry off his feet. Across the pitch, the Gryffindors stare as if a law of nature has been broken. They look at each other. Some clap grudgingly. Some turn away. Snape's expression is unreadable. Pride, fear, calculation, all layered too tightly together for any student to name. To him, this is proof and warning, both. Harry is visible now, not just as a scar and a story, but as Slytherin's spear point. Walking back to the changing rooms, broom over his shoulder, robes plastered to his skin, Harry feels the weight of every gaze on his back. Victory tastes sharp, almost metallic. He understands, dimly but truly, that each spectacular catch is not just a point on a board, it is an argument, a letter written across the sky in green and silver, telling the school what Slytherin can be, telling them what he might become. He does not yet know that some people in the shadows are already answering that letter in their own way. The stone, the scar, and the serpent, a new first-year mystery. The castle is quieter at night, but not silent. Stone holds whispers the way Gringotts holds gold. In the weeks after that first match, Slytherin rumour does what Gryffindor gossip never could. Gryffindor stories are loud, wide, full of colour and exaggeration. Slytherin whispers move differently, narrow, precise, passed from bed curtain to fireplace to the far corner, where older students pretend not to listen. By the time November ends, every snake knows 3 things. There is a forbidden corridor on the 3rd floor. There is something dangerous behind it, and their house now contains the boy most likely to test the door. Harry listens. He has been planning this without quite admitting it to himself, collecting fragments instead of fireworks. A 5th year mutters about a giant paw print near a locked classroom. A 2nd year insists she heard a growl under the floor. Marcus Flint, thinking Harry is asleep, brags that Quirrell came to their table smelling of dog and fear after patrol. None of it is proof. All of it is pattern. He adds teachers to that pattern. In potions, he lets Snape sneer, lets the man circle like a shark, then asks, mild as he can manage, whether alchemical stones are still made in modern Britain. Snape's quill stills. For one heartbeat, the mask slips. Then the answer comes, clipped and cold, full of information Snape did not intend to give. In Charms, Harry asks Flitwick how many layers of protection can be stacked on a single room. Flitwick's eyes sharpen. He looks at Harry as if measuring him for something older than homework. The Forbidden Corridor is not just a mystery, it is a project. It is a test of the world's intentions toward him. Inside Slytherin, other whispers gather around a different axis. His scar, his voice. The night he told the snake in the wall to leave a terrified first year alone, the words had slid out of him like water, like something older than language. He had not meant for anyone to hear. They did. Now, when he walks into the common room, conversations pause half a beat too long. Parcel tongue, someone breathed. Dark magic, someone else answered. A third voice, quieter. Or Slytherin's own legacy, come home. He catches Draco watching him with something that is not quite fear and not quite admiration. He looks at her. She looks at him. No, this time it is Pansy. Eyes sharp, quill poised above untouched parchment. A moment of understanding passes between them. They are all measuring risk. When his scar burns in class as Quirrell passes, Harry says nothing. But he marks it down in his mind, the way he marks down who returns late from the library, who smells of the upper corridors, who suddenly cares about alchemy. If someone in his house is after whatever lies behind that door, charging him blindly would be suicide. Gryffindors might call it courage. Slytherins would call it waste. So he maps. Who benefits if the stone exists? Who hates Dumbledore enough to steal from under his nose? Who walks the castle at night with the confidence of someone already invited past wards? The answers do not form a single name. They form a web. One evening, under a sky the colour of old parchment, Harry walks the third floor corridor alone. No cloak, no backup. Just a wand, a racing heart, and a mind that has been arranging these pieces for weeks. The door looms ahead, heavy and ordinary, and not ordinary at all. He pauses, fingertips hovering over the handle, feeling the faint throb of his scar and the colder, older pull of the house that claimed him. He is not here to be a reckless hero. He is here as a strategist standing at the edge of a trap, intent on understanding every spring and tooth before he dares to step inside. Behind the wood, something huge shifts and breathes. The corridor holds its breath with him. What exactly is Hogwarts trying to make of Harry Potter? Dumbledore's long game, watching a Slytherin chosen one. The office is quiet and full of ticking. High above the castle, past stone gargoyles and sleeping portraits, Albus Dumbledore sits behind his desk and watches green sand fall in the Slytherin hourglass. Somewhere below, Harry Potter is walking that dim corridor, listening to a monster breathe behind a door. Up here, another kind of watching is happening. He has been planning this. Not Harry and Slytherin. No, that had been a razor-thin moment of choice, but everything that followed. The requests for staff reports worded as casual inquiries. The way he lingers, just a fraction longer, before the Slytherin table at feasts. The quiet evenings when he stands before the sorting hat and asks, in a tone of idle curiosity, what it remembers. The hat is not supposed to gossip. It does anyway. It speaks of a boy who argued, then listened, who wanted to belong and to survive, who accepted the house that whispered of power and legacy and old coiled magic. Dumbledore listens, fingers steepled, blue eyes turned inward. The hat's memories are another kind of pensive, one only he can access. He supplements them ruthlessly. From Snape, clipped, precise observations. Potter is ambitious, competitive, already a focal point for Slytherin politics. From McGonagall, tight-lipped concern. He looks at the world like a chessboard now, Albus, and I do not like who is teaching him the rules. From the castle itself, through portraits that drift between frames, carrying small stories of who Harry walks with, who he avoids, when he chooses silence over open defiance. Their meetings change. In another world, he might have met Harry, by a cosy fire in the Gryffindor common room, all lemon drops and twinkling eyes. Here, the boy comes to the circular office by appointment. A letter, written in careful script, invites him. The door opens. Harry steps in, shoulders straight, Slytherin crest bright on his robes. Dumbledore keeps the distance. No grandfatherly indulgence. Tea, yes, but poured with formal courtesy. Questions asked with the measured tone he uses at the Wizengamot. How are your studies? How are you finding your house? Are you hearing any unusual voices? He watches how Harry answers, how he does not. More than any description could contain, it is the pauses that interest him. Snape argues that this version of Harry is closer to the edge. Ambition, cunning, a talent for secrecy. Perfect soil for Voldemort's ideology to root in if the boy ever feels betrayed. McGonagall counters that the same traits might let him walk among snakes and not be bitten if he can hold to his own ethics. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. Both are afraid, but of different futures. Dumbledore hears them and also hears something else. Opportunity. A Slytherin chosen one could do what he never managed. Sit in that common room and say, clearly, that blood is not destiny. Turn neutral, pragmatic children away from darkness before it has a name. Bridge the gap between the old families and the light without demanding they abandon everything they are. But opportunity is a blade with two edges. Late at night, when the castle is mostly still, he stands between two objects. On one side, a cracked prophecy sphere in its stand, whispering its single terrible sentence. On the other, the hourglass of Slytherin, green sand hissing down, marking points gained by ambition, by cleverness, by small, calculated cruelties and kindnesses. He looks from one to the other, savior, rival, or something the wizarding world has never seen before. The glass glows faintly in the lamplight, and for a heartbeat he cannot tell which is more dangerous, the prophecy or the house. Below, in the dungeons, Harry makes a choice that will send a whisper up through stone and portrait and hat. Dumbledore feels it coming before the knock sounds on his door. Hermione's calculus, trusting a Slytherin ink and dust. The library is quiet enough that Hermione can hear her own heartbeat. Late September, Hogwarts Library. A stack of books towers beside her. Hogwarts, a history, great wizarding events of the 20th century. A thin, much older volume titled simply Slytherin. She has been planning this for days, tracing every odd look, every whisper, since the sorting. Harry Potter in green and silver. Harry Potter sitting beside Draco Malfoy. Harry Potter walking into potions and earning, with one clipped, precise answer. The first real smile she has seen Snape give anyone. She turns pages. Salazar Slytherin's stated values: ambition, resourcefulness, leadership, self-preservation. A later commentator adds blood purity in the margin, ink darker, angrier. Hermione presses her thumb against the word, as if she can smudge it out of the world. But then she remembers the troll. Harry, stepping between it and the terrified Hufflepuff first year, wand up, movements sharp and economical, as if he has been planning this kind of danger his whole life. Harry shouting instructions that actually made sense. Harry refusing, afterward, to let anyone say the girl had been stupid to be in the wrong corridor. Slytherin is supposed to trample the weak. Harry does not. So she makes another stack. Observations. A bag containing everything she has noticed. He never laughs at blood jokes. When Malfoy sneers mudblood under his breath, Harry's eyes go flat and cold, and the word does not pass his own lips. In class, he is meticulous at potions, careful at charms, almost eerily patient at transfiguration, as if precision and planning are his native language. He looks at her, she looks at him, in lessons, in corridors, in those strange moments when their answers collide and McGonagall's eyebrows rise a fraction. The pattern does not fit the books, so she goes looking for the missing variable. It is almost curfew when she finds him in the third-floor corridor that is supposed to be forbidden. He stands before the locked door, hand resting lightly on the handle, listening. "Potter," she says, voice steadier than she feels. "What are you doing here?" He turns, measures her, not like Malfoy, weighing status, more like a chess player counting moves. "Checking something," he says. "And you're out of bounds too." She lifts her chin. "There's something dangerous here. You keep walking toward it. You disappear at night. You talk to Snape after class. Are you working with someone?" She cannot quite say the name. He studies her, then the door, then her again. A long breath. "I know there's something here," he says quietly. "And I know Dumbledore is not telling us everything. If it is dangerous, it is inside the school with us. I would rather know what it is than wait for it to find us in our beds." "Glory?" she asks. The word tastes accusing. "Safety," he answers. "For Hogwarts. For the people who do not get warnings." A moment of understanding passes between them. She thinks of the troll. He thinks of a cupboard under the stairs, more than any description could contain. He does not tell her about prophecies or scars that burn. He does not mention the way the hat whispered Slytherin like a promise. But he offers something else. "If you think I'm missing something," he says, "help me calculate the risks. You see things I don't." They look at each other. Hermione's mind runs the numbers. Evidence for, evidence against. He has been planning this corridor. He has also been protecting students he barely knows. The books say Slytherin. Her data says something more complicated. Deliberately, like setting down an equation, she decides. "I will help," she says, "on certain things. But if you cross a line, I will go to McGonagall." "Good," Harry says. Someone should. They walk back toward the common staircases. Separate colours, shared problem. The first fragile bridge laid across a house divide that the rest of Hogwarts still treats as absolute. Through the traps with serpent eyes, the corridor is silent and full of breath. Not whispers. Not yet. Midnight. The third floor landing. Harry waits in the shadow of a suit of armour, listening to the soft tick of the castle, the distant shift of staircases. He has been planning this since the moment Quirrell's stutter slipped and Hermione's eyes narrowed in the library. Not a heroic dash, a controlled incursion. Hermione arrives first, cardigan over her pyjamas, hair braided back tight. Behind her walks Theodore Nott, robes neat, expression wary, a prefect's badge glinting on his chest. An upper-year Slytherin who reads warding manuals for fun and treats every rumour like a legal document. "You're late," Harry says. Filch was on the second floor landing. Nott answers quietly. "I redirected Mrs. Norris with a scent trail." "You're welcome." Hermione looks between them, measuring. "We're really doing this?" It is not quite a question. "We walk in," Harry says. "Take what someone else is already trying to steal and walk out. No duels, no drama. If we do this right, no one even knows we were here." The trap door opens. Fluffy's snores roll over them like distant thunder. Nott produces a tiny vial. "Sleeping draft. Strong. I tested it on a rat." He does not say where he found the rat. He doesn't need to. Harry tips it carefully between the massive jaws, watching the three heads slump in sequence. They drop through together. Devil's snare closes around them, cool and damp. Hermione's breath catches. But Harry has already gone still, feeling the vines test his weight. "It tightens on struggle," he says. "So don't." Nott's voice comes, clipped. Fire is loud, triggers alarms, try light. Hermione blinks once, then lifts her wand. Lumos solum. White brilliance floods the tendrils. They recoil, offended rather than burned, loosening just enough. They fall through, not fighting, using gravity as their ally. It is quieter than flames, cleaner. The key chamber hums with wings, shards of metal and feather, whirling patterns in the air. Harry doesn't rush for a broom. He looks, counts, watches how the keys move, how the door glints. They're warded to resist direct summoning, not murmurs. Standard Gringotts mimicry. Gringotts, bank logic. Harry thinks of goblins and contracts and loopholes. "So we don't summon the key," he says. "We summon the ward." Hermione frowns, then her eyes light. Finite on the binding, not the object. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. 3 wands rise. 3 murmured incantations laced together, not quite synchronized, just jagged enough to create interference. For a heartbeat, the enchantment flickers. 1 key stutters, flying off rhythm, wings beating a fraction too slow. "That one," Harry says. He's been planning this kind of thinking all year, training himself to see edges instead of walls. They use brooms, but not a chase. Nott casts a mild repello to clear a corridor through the swarm. Harry flies once, straight and narrow, snatching the key with a gloved hand, already turning before the others can react. No glorious dive, no broken bones, just precision. The chessboard waits below, black and white stretching into shadow. Ron is not here to throw himself on a knight's sword. Harry feels the absence like a draft. Nott studies the pieces, lips moving as he maps lines of attack. "We could play properly," he says, "win by the rules. Or," Harry answers, "we could change the rules. Pattern interrupt." He walks off the edge of the board. Hermione gasps. The nearest pawn raises its weapon, then freezes, confused. Because he is not a piece. He's not playing. He's simply crossing a floor. They're bound to the game, Hermione realizes. They can only attack designated players. So we send no one, Harry says. We walk. Not laughs once, quietly, the sound edged with reluctant admiration. It feels wrong and clever at the same time, like stepping through a loophole in an ancient law. Twisted metal, broken troll, potion flames. Each obstacle, they seek the side door, the overlooked claws. Hermione argues twice, when Harry suggests leaving a false trail to implicate Snape, when Nott proposes harvesting a bit of binding magic for later study. She pushes back hard, voice shaking, ethics sharp as glass. Harry listens, backs down, not because he cannot do it, but because he is choosing, line by line, who he will be. At the final door, Nott stops. "This is as far as I go," he says. "Whatever waits in there, it's for you." Hermione looks at Harry. He looks at her. More than any description could contain passes between them. Fear, trust, the memory of every letter they have not yet written about this night. "If I'm right," Harry says slowly, "someone needs to stay free to tell McGonagall, or Dumbledore, or the world." He knows, suddenly, that beyond this door, he may have to be exactly what they all fear a Slytherin could become: cold, decisive, alone. Harry steps forward. The handle is cool under his hand. He opens the door and walks through by himself. Face to face with Quirrell, a different temptation. The chamber is cold and full of reflections. Harry steps inside. The door closes behind him with a soft, final click. Stone under his shoes, dust in the air, the faint smell of old magic. And in front of him, taller than he expected, the mirror of Erised. He walks toward it, slow, wary. He has been planning this confrontation since the moment he realized the third-floor corridor was not a bluff, counting every move Quirrell made, every glance at the forbidden door, knowing there would be a final test and that no one would stand between them. He stops an arm's length from the glass. At first he sees only himself, small, thin, Slytherin tie slightly askew. Then the image shifts. The mirror world Harry straightens, grows, lengthens into an older boy in full Slytherin regalia. Rich green robes, silver embroidery, a serpent worked in black thread over his heart. Behind that older Harry hang banners. Slytherin, Potter, Peverell. Twined together in a pattern more than any description could contain. There are people at his shoulders. Not faceless crowds, but allies. Draco, a little taller, expression sharpened. Daphne Greengrass, composed and dangerous. Even Hermione, in deep green trimmed with bronze, a book in one hand and a wand in the other. They look at each other through the glass, calm, confident, as if they own the room and perhaps the world beyond it. Harry's throat tightens. His parents appear at the edge of the reflection, not as ghosts, but as part of that future. James, in discreet formal robes. Lily, with a hand on Hermione's shoulder. All of them standing under those intertwined banners like a family crest made real. Fascinating, isn't it? Quirrell's voice is different here. Less stammer, more silk. He steps from the shadows, eyes bright. A Slytherin's heart laid bare. The air cools. The second voice coils out, thin and eager. "You see yourself as you could be, Harry Potter. Lord amongst serpents. Reshaper of houses. Heir to power that will make the Ministry and Dumbledore kneel." Quirrell walks a slow circle around him, studying the mirror. Ambition. Foresight. The will to act. These are not flaws. These are gifts. You chose Slytherin. You know what that means. Harry does know. Never helpless again. Never locked in a cupboard while adults decide his fate. A chance to take Slytherin's rotting reputation, scrape it clean, and write a different story in silver and green. The voice in his scar presses closer. Together, we could end this war before it begins. No more fumbling Gryffindor heroics. Strategy. Control. You could rule this world well, if you only stopped pretending power is shameful. Harry looks back at the mirror, at Hermione in green, at Draco at his right hand, at a Slytherin table that isn't a nest of future Death Eaters, but a council. It is tempting, not because it is wicked, but because it looks right. He thinks of Dumbledore's careful half-truths, of Snape's contempt, of how easily this castle could be turned into a weapon. "Power isn't the problem," Harry says quietly. "It's what you do with it." The reflection wizard behind Quirrell, taller, hooded, almost a shadow, seems to lean closer. I would remake the world, Voldemort whispers. No more hiding. No more muggles dictating terms. Magic ascendant. Harry shakes his head once. You'd burn it down to rule the ashes. That's useless to me. He steps closer to Quirrell, close enough that the man flinches, close enough that the mirror, Harry, older and robed, seems to stand inside his skin. I want a world left to protect, Harry says. A Slytherin future that survives. When he grabs Quirrell, the pain is immediate, white hot. Flesh sears. Quirrell screams. Voldemort howls in his mind. Harry holds on anyway, not as a Gryffindor martyr, but as a Slytherin executing a necessary calculated cruelty. Stone shakes, the smell of burning cloth, burning skin. Harry does not let go until Quirrell crumples and the presence in his scar rips away, shrieking. Later, when Dumbledore and the staff find him, Harry stands swaying in front of the mirror, hand blistered, eyes hard. The banners behind his reflection still hang, undimmed. Dumbledore looks at the boy, then at the Slytherin Lord in the glass, and something like unease passes through his gaze. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. Dumbledore knows he has not planned for this, and somewhere, in the ruins of Quirrell's mind, a fragment of Voldemort has seen the same vision Harry did and is already adjusting his own plans. Summer between wars. A Slytherin returns to Privet Drive. The house is quiet and full of watching. Privet Drive. Early summer light. Too clean, too bright on the neat hedges and the white front door. Harry stands on the pavement with his trunk, Hedwig's cage, and the knowledge of a whole other world pressed behind his eyes. A car passes. No one looks twice. The boy who lived has come home to number 4, and the street does not know, cannot know, what he has seen beneath Hogwarts. Vernon opens the door, already red, already puffed with importance. Petunia peers around his arm like a nervous heron. Dudley hovers in the hallway, wider than ever. Once, their faces would have meant a lurch in his stomach, an old automatic flinch. Now Harry only studies them the way he would study a new classroom or a Slytherin rival. Small, predictable. Obstacles, not monsters. He has been planning this. All the way on the train, through the chatter and the steam and the last looks at the castle, he sorted his thoughts like chess pieces. What can they do to me, realistically? What do I need from them? How do I keep Hogwarts, Slytherin, Snape, even Dumbledore, from deciding my life for me? Boy, Vernon grunts, already reaching for the trunk. No funny business this summer. We've had enough of your abnormality. Harry lets the words pass over him. Not harmless, just unimportant. Yes, Uncle Vernon, he says, calm, steady. I understand the rules. I have some of my own. That makes Vernon pause. Petunia's fingers tighten on the doorframe. Harry steps inside without waiting to be invited, walks down the hall as if it is a corridor in the dungeons. Not defiant, not meek, simply present. He sets Hedwig's cage down, looks Vernon in the eye. I'll do my chores. I'll stay out of the way. In return, my school things stay in my room. You don't touch my trunk. You don't lock me in. Vernon splutters, gearing up for a shout. Then the light over the hallway flickers. Once, twice. A sharp, deliberate stutter that has nothing to do with the wiring. Harry does not move his wand. He does not have to. The air tightens, a faint crackle, more felt than seen. Controlled. A nudge, not an explosion. He has been practicing the feel of that all year, in late nights in the Slytherin dorm, remembering how glass once shattered when he was angry, how his hair grew back overnight. Accidental magic is less accidental when you know where to push. Petunia's breath hisses in. She remembers. Vernon looks up at the bulb as if it has personally betrayed him. You, he starts. Harry only tilts his head. I said I'd follow the rules. I expect the same. His voice is polite. That is what unnerves them most. Days settle into a pattern. Chores in the morning. Gardening, cleaning, cooking. In the afternoons, when the sun is too hot and Vernon dozes in his chair, Harry reads. His school books spread across the small desk in his room. First-year potions, a history of magic. Borrowed copies of advanced texts that a Slytherin 7th year pressed into his hands with a speculative look. He traces lines about magical lore, about house alliances, about how the Wizengamot really works. He thinks of Malfoy's drawl, of Nott's quiet questions, of the way some of the older Slytherins watch him as if measuring a future they might serve or oppose. He thinks of Ron's hurt face at the sorting, of Hermione's frown when he walked to the green and silver table. He looks at her. She looks at him. Not in person, just in memory, in possibility. She is in Gryffindor, but she knows how to read, how to plan, how to question adults. Could she be trusted if he shows her more of who he is becoming? At night, he lies awake, mapping. If he leans into the boy who lived, into the whisper that he speaks Parseltongue, some Slytherins will court him, others will fear him. Snape will watch more closely. Dumbledore will try to guide, to nudge. Voldemort, wherever that fragment lurks, will be listening. Hogwarts is no longer just a school. It is a battlefield of influence, with house tables for trenches and corridors for front lines. Harry stares at the crack in the ceiling plaster. He will walk back into that castle in September. He will walk as a Slytherin who knows he is being watched from every side. And this time, he intends to make sure that when the pieces move, he is not anyone's pawn. Second year, darker shadows. The chamber, rumours begin. The castle waits for him. September again. The scarred boy in green and silver walks down from the carriages, a little taller, shoulders set, eyes older than 12. He has been planning this return all summer, replaying every corridor, every look, every mistake, until the stone walls of Hogwarts feel like a chessboard he has already studied from every angle. Slytherin House looks back at him differently now, not just the awed first years who whisper and point. The older students too. Some nod with cool respect, weighing him as a proven asset after a year of points, Quidditch wins, and that business with the stone that everyone pretends not to know about. Some watch him like a rival claimant, a boy who might one day stand at the head of their table. A few, the ones with the oldest names, look at his Muggle upbringing and the rumours of a Muggle-born friend and see a threat to bloodlines they recite like prayers. He sits. The bench feels narrower. The world feels narrower. Ambition has edges now. The first whisper reaches him 3 days into term. In the common room, late, when the fire is low and the dungeon air is thick with damp and secrets, a second-year girl leans toward a friend, eyes wide. They say the Chamber of Secrets is real. They say the heir of Slytherin has returned. The friend glances just once at Harry. By breakfast, the rumour has moved upstairs. By lunch, it has a shape. The heir is at Hogwarts, and of course, he would be in Slytherin. Who else would open a chamber built by their founder? Names circulate like cursed sweets. Malfoy, Newt, a quiet 6th year with a fondness for serpents, and, inevitably, Potter. Pattern interrupt. The first accusation does not come from Gryffindor. It comes from a Ravenclaw boy in charms, voice shaking but loud enough for the room. You talk to snakes, Potter. What else can you do? The word Parseltongue lands on the desks like something venomous. Last year, his ability had been a strange story, half remembered from the dueling club. Now the chamber rumours turn it into evidence. Hufflepuffs draw back when he walks past. Some Gryffindors glare as if he has already signed a confession. Even among Slytherins, there is a shift. A few look at him with new wariness, as if the language of snakes might decide who survives this year. Draco sees the fear and smiles. He has been planning this too, in his own way. In the common room, he holds court, talking about Muggleborns in the same tone one might use for invasive plants. If the heir is here to cleanse the school, perhaps it is only what Salazar intended. He never says Harry's name. He does not have to. Harry listens, jaw tight. When arguments flare in the corridors, when a Slytherin 4th year hisses mudblood at a terrified first-year Hufflepuff, Harry steps in, voice low, authority carefully measured. Enough. We do not start a war in the hallways, not while everyone is looking for an excuse to blame us for everything. Hermione watches him from across classrooms, from the Ravenclaw table where she has chosen her own battles. He looks at her, she looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them, more than any description could contain. They both know how fast fear can become policy. The nights grow colder, the stories grow sharper, and then, one evening, walking alone through the lower corridors near the Slytherin common room, Harry hears it. A voice in the walls, low, eager, sliding through the stone like cold water. Kill, hunt, so hungry. He stops. The torches flicker. No one else reacts. No one else hears. The sound coils around his mind in that same wrong, familiar way as Parseltongue, but older, deeper, threaded with a hatred that feels like it has been waiting centuries. His house, his founder, his language. Harry presses a hand to the damp stone, listening as the voice moves away, hunting. Whatever is stalking the school is tied to Slytherin's darkest legacy, and to the part of him that understands every hiss. For the first time that year, he wonders if the rest of them might be right to be afraid. Heir or heretic, Harry versus Slytherin's dark legacy. The castle looks different when everyone is listening for a monster that sounds like you. In the days after the second attack, corridors bend around Harry, like they are trying to spit him out. Gryffindors see the green trim of his robes and veer away, conversations snapping shut mid-sentence. Hufflepuffs bunch together, hands tight on bags, watching him walk past as if eye contact alone might invite disaster. Ravenclaws do not flee. They study, measuring his steps, his expression, the way he looks at walls that whisper in a language only he can hear. Even some teachers shift. Professor Sprout's smile grows thinner when he enters Greenhouse 3. Flitwick's usual bright greeting falters into a careful nod. Only Snape is unchanged, or perhaps more himself. Cloak snapping, voice cool, gaze lingering on Harry with a calculation that feels like a private interrogation every lesson. Inside Slytherin, the air is sharper. The common room hums with low voices, more glances than words. A knot of older boys in one corner speak openly of the heir as if he is a house prize, speculating which family will be honoured when he finally reveals himself. Others, often those with ministry parents, whisper instead about raids, inquiries, blood status audits. They know what happens when the ministry decides a house has gone too far. And threaded through that tension are a few faces that turn to Harry, not with fear, not with glee, but with a quiet, searching expectation. As if he has been planning this. As if the boy who walked into Slytherin with Gringotts rings on his fingers and a lord's title in his letter must have a strategy for surviving even this. He hates it. Hates the way mudblood still echoes in the dormitory after some arguments. Hates the way blood inheritance is used as a weapon instead of a responsibility. Yet he also knows that a public denunciation shouted across the Great Hall would split Slytherin cleanly in two. The ones who already leaned toward darkness would drift further, dragging frightened younger students with them. The ones who might change would be left exposed. So he works in smaller moves, quiet words to first years about talent mattering more than ancestry. A pointed question here, a raised eyebrow there when someone sneers at a Muggleborn's spell work. He has been planning this too, influenced by inches, not explosions. Hermione corners him in an empty classroom after dinner, parchment still ink-stained from her latest notes on the attacks. She closes the door with a flick of her wand, then just looks at him. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them, but it is not enough. "Harry," she says, voice steady but tight. "I need to know. Are you the one doing this?" The question lands heavier than any spell. For a heartbeat, he wants to laugh, to be offended, to be anything but what he is, a Slytherin who hears the monster's voice. Instead, he forces himself to meet her eyes. "No," he says. "I will never hunt Muggleborns. I will never be what Voldemort thinks Slytherin is for." She studies him, weighing not just his words, but the shape of his disgust when he speaks about blood. He lets her see everything, fear, anger, the coil of shame that he can talk to the thing in the walls at all. They look at each other. Slowly, she nods. "Then we find the chamber," she whispers. "Before whoever is doing this finds someone who can't be saved." Harry already knows. He will find it not only to stop the attacks, but to drag Slytherin's name away from the monsters who claimed it, to prove to the whole magical world and to his own house that the heir of Slytherin does not have to be a murderer. The next time the voice hisses through the stones, he listens and turns toward it. This time, he walks after the monster, into the chamber as a serpent, not a lion. The chamber is open and full of whispers. Stone sweats around him. The air is wet, cold, tasting of metal and old magic. Harry walks at the head of the little group, Ron pale, Lockhart babbling, Ginny's absence a weight more than any description could contain. He has been planning this, in his own way, since the first time the voice slid through the walls and called him brother. He stops at the sink. The serpentine etching looks back at him. So does his reflection. Green tie, silver trim, the crest of a house that the whole school is already side-eyeing as guilty. He leans closer, whispers in his head, the language of snakes waiting just behind his teeth. Open, he hisses in parcel tongue. The sink grinds aside. Pipes unfold like a throat. A Slytherin boy, speaking the old tongue, opening the way into his house's buried heart. Somewhere above, portraits will be waking, teachers shouting. Dumbledore's absence like a missing chess piece. Down here, it is only him, the echo of water and the weight of 1,000 years of fear. He goes first. Of course he does. He slides into the dark, lands, draws his wand before he stands. He walks forward, eyes tracing carvings of coiled serpents, robed figures, the crest of Salazar Slytherin repeated again and again, as if the founder needed to remind even the stone whose domain this is. When Tom Riddle steps out of the shadows, Harry is almost relieved. A boy, not a monster. A prefect's badge. A familiar, careful smile. He looks like every polished Slytherin upper year who has ever tried to measure Harry for usefulness. Riddle talks about legacy, about blood, about how the Hat wanted Harry here, how the world will never trust a Parselmouth. He has been planning this speech for 50 years. Harry listens, because Slytherins listen first and strike second. He hears the manipulation in every gentle word, the appeal to ambition, the offer to be more than Dumbledore's pawn. Successor, Riddle says softly. Heir. You and I could remake this school, this world. Harry thinks of Draco boasting about family, of half-blood Slytherins keeping their heads down, of Hermione's face when she read the word mudblood on the wall, and then looked at him anyway. A moment of understanding passes between them, every time she chooses to sit at the Slytherin table, quill ready, chin lifted. Slytherin isn't your word to define, Harry says. It's not just blood, it's survival, strategy, protecting your own. You call it power. I call it not leaving people like Ginny to die because it's convenient. Riddle's eyes cool. The diary glints. The basilisk comes. He does not charge blindly. He runs, yes, but each step is chosen, counting pillars, angles, reflections in wet stone. He uses the chamber itself, ducking behind statues, forcing the serpent to twist its own bulk into tight turns, buying seconds. Fawkes' arrival is a flare of impossible light, a promise that somewhere Dumbledore still has pieces on the board. He fights like a Slytherin, low, fast, using fear instead of denying it, letting it sharpen every calculation. Sword in hand, but mind on the diary, on Riddle's tether. When the fang pierces the book, it is not a lucky stab. It is the end of a chain of choices he has been making since the Hat whispered great things in his ear. Ink screams. Riddle tears apart. The basilisk falls. After, he stands alone in the ruined chamber. Diary, a smoking ruin at his feet. He knows, with a cold, clear certainty, that he has just killed a piece of Voldemort. More than that, in Slytherin's own lair, a Slytherin boy has slain the darkest version of that legacy and lived. Up above, the school will still whisper about the heir. Down here, Harry has already decided what the title will mean next. Public enemy or quiet reformer? The school reacts. The chamber is silent, but Hogwarts is loud. By the time Harry and Ginny reach the hospital wing, the story is already outpacing them. A basilisk, the heir of Slytherin, the boy who lived walking out of a legend with a ruined diary and a half-conscious girl in his arms. Relief hits the school like a physical thing. Portraits stop pretending not to listen. Ghosts cluster in doorways. Even the suits of armor seem to stand a little easier. Then the whispers begin. Again. He walks the next morning through corridors that look different, not because the stones have changed, but because every gaze weighs more. Hufflepuffs pull their friends closer as he passes. A pair of Ravenclaw girls stop mid-sentence, eyes flicking to his scar, then to the green on his tie, as if trying to solve an equation that no longer balances. The attacks have stopped. The monster is dead, and the supposed heir is the one who ended it. In the Great Hall, the story sorts itself into versions. A knot of older Slytherins at the far end of the table talk low and fast, glancing his way. Dark Prince, one of them mouths, not quite quietly enough, the one who turned on his own monster. Some of the younger snakes look at him with open awe, like he has been planning this since the first whisper on the walls. like this was some vast, cold strategy to seize the house and its fear. Across the aisle, a Gryffindor fifth year mutters that of course a Slytherin would save Muggleborns if it meant more people owing him. A second-year Hufflepuff repeats it later in the corridor as fact. By dinner, there's a third version, Harry Potter, Slytherin Golden Boy, who keeps Muggleborns breathing because dead pawns cannot pay their debts. The Ministry's version is quieter and sharper. An owl, then another. A letter requesting a brief, informal conversation. Dumbledore receives them in his office, tea steaming, eyes tired. Two officials from the Department of Magical Law Enforcement sit very straight in their chairs, asking polite questions that are not about Ginny Weasley at all. They want to know how stable the boy seems, whether the Parseltongue is under control, whether a Slytherin chosen one is a fortunate anchor in a divided world, or a future political problem that will one day sit in the Wizengamot and refuse to move. Hermione hears the corridor gossip before she sees him. In the library, a Ravenclaw boy suggests, lightly, that patterns must be considered. Dark wizards, snakes, Slytherin. She closes her book. Then, calmly, she begins to take the pattern apart. Who was petrified? Who was targeted? Who actually went below to stop it? She uses dates, times, the fact that Harry could have stood aside and did not. Logic like a shield, evidence like a blade. In the Slytherin common room, she does the same with sharper edges. When a fourth year sneers that Harry has just made himself the Ministry's favourite pet, Hermione asks whether anyone else volunteered to walk into a basilisk's den. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. Not agreement, but the realization that she will not yield this ground. Later, alone in the dormitory, Harry lies awake and counts the breaths he is responsible for. Colin, Justin, Hermione herself. Names like weights. Each life saved is a victory, but each victory twists the story the world tells about him. Gryffindor's hero would have been simple. Slytherin's savior is something else, more than any description could contain. He understands now. Every time he wins, the unease deepens. They are safer because he acted. They are more afraid because of what it means that he could. And the next time a monster stirs, the question will not be whether Harry Potter can stop it. It will be whether they dare let a Slytherin try. Third year, a Slytherin stares down a Dementor. The train is a metal tunnel of breath and frost. September, third year. The Hogwarts Express shuddering somewhere in the rain between London and Scotland. Harry sits in a Slytherin compartment, green and silver ties loosened, Draco pretending not to watch him over a copy of The Prophet that will not stop mentioning Sirius Black. The lights flicker. The train slows. The warmth drains away as if someone has opened a door into deep water. He feels it before he sees them, a pressure behind his scar, a taste like old pennies on his tongue. The door slides open and the Dementor fills the frame, tattered, towering, bringing with it every whispered family story Slytherin children were never meant to repeat. Pansy Parkinson's hand clamps around her wand and will not stop shaking. Blaise Zabini's usual lazy smile is gone. His eyes are flat, calculating, as if tallying which of his mother's husbands deserved this cold. Draco goes white, not with drama, but with memory. Harry knows, suddenly, how many fathers on this side of the train have things worth fearing. And then the screaming starts. A woman's voice. His world narrows. He is on the floor before he understands he is falling. He wakes to Lupin's worn face and the smell of chocolate. The others look at him, not with concern, with something nearer to appraisal. The boy who lived, the Slytherin Golden Boy, has fainted like a first year in front of his house. Humiliation burns hotter than the cold ever did. He files away every glance, every half-hidden smirk, every too careful question. He has been planning this new year as his consolidation year. Quidditch captaincy in reach. Slughorn's attention drifting back through time toward him. Snape's grudging respect, almost visible. Now they have seen him collapse. So he turns the shame into a blade, a project, a problem to solve. He corners Professor Lupin after class. Quiet, direct. He wants to know everything about Dementors. Their nature, their rules, their weaknesses. He wants a shield that cannot be taken from him. Lupin looks at him, really looks, and Harry sees the moment the man recognizes both James's eyes and Slytherin's stillness. Lupin does not say, "Be brave." He says, "Be prepared." He teaches Harry the Patronus not as a happy thought, but as disciplined memory, as controlled emotion, as a way to walk into fear with your mind arranged like wards around a vault. In those late lessons, the truth about Sirius Black cracks open. Not a mad traitor in Azkaban, but a godfather. Not a trial, but no trial at all. Peter Pettigrew, the quiet one, the one no one watched, alive. The story of that Halloween night rearranges itself into something colder, a system that condemned without proof, a ministry that preferred a neat headline to a difficult truth, a world where one wrong word could send you to the Dementors. Slytherin values shift in his head. Loyalty is no longer a slogan, it is a contract you verify. Betrayal is not shocking, it's a risk you plan for. He looks at Hermione when he tells her, "In a corner of the library that smells of dust and ink." She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. If they could send Sirius away without question, what could they do to Harry? In the shrieking shack, with the truth finally laid bare, wand pointed at the man who sold his parents, everything he has learned presses in at once. The rage is there, so is the image of his mother's face, so is Lupin's voice, calm, insistent. Think before you strike. Killing Pettigrew would feel right. It would also be exactly what Voldemort expects of a weapon raised in fear. Keeping him alive, binding him, exposing him, turning him into living proof of the Ministry's failure is something else. A Slytherin mercy, a move on a board most of the adults have forgotten they are standing on. He lowers his wand, not because he forgives, because he is thinking 3 moves ahead, about Azkaban, about Dementors, about who truly controls them. Outside, the night is thick with wings and cold, and somewhere beyond the castle wards, something that has been watching Harry Potter begins to adjust its plans. House of Snakes, heart of a pack, rewriting Slytherin's culture. The common room is quiet and listening, not to a speech, to what is not being said. By 3rd year, the change is not a banner anyone hangs over the fireplace. It is a missing word, a swallowed insult. A first-year boy with muggle-born grandparents flinches when an older student sneers about proper families, and then watches, bewildered, as 2 5th-years in green prefect badges look at each other and simply stare the sneerer down until he mutters and looks away. No points lost, no detentions. Just a line quietly drawn. He has been planning this without ever calling it a plan. Harry sits at a table near the wall, books open, parchment spread. Around him, a Parkinson, a Knot, a half-blood girl from a minor Welsh line, a thin boy whose surname no one recognizes from the old families. They are working through a transfiguration essay, arguing about theory, comparing McGonagall's notes to something Harry copied from an older Peveril text. No one asks for blood status before they pass the ink. It starts as self-interest. Stronger study groups mean higher marks. Higher marks mean influence. But influence needs bodies, not just names carved into ancient stone. So the quiet ones get folded in. The half-bloods who can brew but hate speaking up. The boy who is brilliant at arithmancy and hopeless at small talk. The girl whose father works at Gringotts and sends her careful letters about goblin contract law. They look at each other across the table, and slowly the definition of ours shifts. By mid-series, people in the house have started using a term they never say when professors are near: Harry's lot, the Harry faction. They mean the students who judge you on whether you keep your word, whether you can hold a shield under pressure, whether you know when to keep silent. The ones who will absolutely hex you in a corridor if you go after one of theirs, but will do it from behind a tapestry with no witnesses. Draco hates it, or tells himself he does. His circle still laughs loudest, still uses the old slurs when they think no one important is listening. But even they walk more carefully now. Because the boy with the scar is pure blood enough to count, famous enough to matter, and Slytherin enough to remember every slight. The fracture lines do not stay inside one house. A Ravenclaw girl with ink-stained fingers begins trading arithmancy help for access to Peveril Ward schematics. A Hufflepuff beta quietly arranges joint Quidditch practices, framed as strategy sessions so no one loses face. In the library, a table that used to belong to Slytherin alone becomes neutral ground for group projects, where green and blue and yellow ties bend over the same scroll. Even some Gryffindors, grudging, begin to nod at Harry in the corridors. They do not like him. They respect the way he walks into a room and already seems to know who holds which strings. One evening, those strings pull tight. A Hufflepuff 4th year and a Slytherin 2nd year collide outside the potions classroom, vials shattering, accusations flying. Someone says, "mud," and the corridor goes sharp. Wands are half drawn. Voices rise. A prefect shouts, "ignored." Harry steps between them. Not dramatic. Just there. He listens, asks 3 questions, names 2 witnesses. Then, very softly, he mentions how unfortunate it would be if certain families' brewing reputations reached Professor Snape's ears attached to the word careless. How quickly rumours can walk from house to house. How the head of Hufflepuff might react if she heard one of hers was insulted under Slytherin protection. No hexes. Only possibilities. A moment of understanding passes between them. The Hufflepuff gets an apology that is not quite sincere, but very precise. The Slytherin keeps his pride and loses the word he almost said. That night, the common room feels different than it did in Harry's first year. It is still low-ceilinged and green-lit, windows looking into the black water of the lake. Shadows still coil in the corners. But the air hums with quiet negotiations, with whispered study plans that cross family lines, with arguments about tactics instead of ancestry. It is still a house of snakes. Only now, the nest is complicated, coiled around a new idea of loyalty that is more than any description could contain. 4th year, a Slytherin champion in the fire. The hall is blue-lit and full of breath held too long. Flames crackle in the goblet, white, then red, then that impossible, hungry blue. October, 1994. The goblet of fire stands on its plinth. Names have already flown out. Crumb, Diggory, Delacour. The room should be relaxing into applause and gossip. Instead, the fire flares again. A last scrap of parchment spits out, blackened at the edges, drifting down like a condemned letter. Harry Potter? He does not move at first. He has been planning this year with Hermione in meticulous, almost exhausting detail. Electives, self-study schedules, quiet meetings with certain neutral Slytherin families to test how far their politics can bend. Now the plan tears down the middle in one spoken name. Every eye turns. Green and silver scarves twist toward him. The silence is more than any description could contain. A Gryffindor 4th champion would have been a scandal. A Slytherin 4th champion is an accusation made flesh, cheating, ambition. Of course the Slytherin boy put his name in. Of course the house that raised Dark Lords would try to game an ancient magical contract. He can feel it in the way the Beauxbatons girls pull back, in the way some Hufflepuffs look at Cedric as if something has already been stolen. Durmstrang is different. Their red-robed students lean forward, eyes bright. A Slytherin boy who lived, bound by dragonfire and blood to compete. That, to them, looks interesting. Crumb studies Harry the way a seeker studies the sky before a storm, trying to know where the lightning will fall. Beauxbaton is quieter. The headmistress is not looking at Harry so much as at Dumbledore, as if calculating what it means for British politics that the most famous wizarding heir in Europe, already whispered about in Gringotts corridors and Wizengamot antechambers, will stand in front of the world as a Slytherin champion. What alliances shift if he wins? What if he dies? Draco's reaction fractures the house before any foreign delegation can. For 3 years, he has wrapped himself in Harry's reflected notoriety, alternating between rivalry and a kind of prickly partnership. Now the goblet has chosen, and it did not choose Malfoy. There's a flash, jealousy, sharp and hot, then calculation. He walks over with that familiar drawl, loud enough for everyone. "Well, Potter, couldn't wait your turn." The words are mocking. The angle of his shoulder is not. He's already trying to ride Harry's coattails, to stand just close enough to the fire to be lit by it without burning. Not everyone follows. Some Slytherins rally, seeing house prestige, new leverage with foreign schools, the chance to prove that cunning can win on a public stage. Others hiss in the corners, muttering about stolen glory, about how Potter always bends the world around himself. Harry hears all of it and adjusts. A Gryffindor might have stormed or sulked. A Slytherin studies the board. For the first task, he does not wait for a panicked hint from Hagrid. He arranges a quiet conversation with Charlie Weasley through Bill, framed as concern for dragon welfare. He has been planning this without knowing the shape of it, collecting favours like coins in a bank vault, a whispered tip from a Durmstrang boy about nesting patterns, a borrowed rune schema from Hermione to strengthen his summoning charm beyond textbook limits. For the lake, he does not rely on a single gillyweed stroke of luck. He drafts a short, brutally clear contract with a 4th-year Ravenclaw who loves arithmancy more than sleep, help optimize a bubblehead charm array in exchange for access to certain Peveril notes after the tournament. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. Ambition, yes, but shared. Even the Yule Ball becomes reconnaissance. While other students measure dress robes, Harry measures silences. He watches which Beauxbaton families flirt with British officials, which Durmstrang sponsors avoid Karkaroff's shadow. He dances when required, smiles when useful, and files everything away. The pattern should be simple: gather information, cut deals, prepare, execute. But the third task refuses to stay inside the lines. The maze rises higher than the stands, hedges thick with old magic. The air around it hums with something that is not school sport. Hermione stands just beyond the champion's entrance rope, fingers tight on the sleeve of her dress robes. They look at each other. She mouths, "Be careful." He nods once. He has been planning this too: pathfinding charms, coloured sparks, a quiet agreement with Cedric to split the glory if it comes to that. Yet as he steps toward the dark opening, the hairs on his arms lift, the world narrows to green walls and the taste of metal on his tongue. He knows, suddenly and absolutely, that he is walking into something deeper than a competition, and he knows what they will say if it goes wrong. Of course the Slytherin knew. Of course Potter was in on it from the start. He walks into the maze anyway. Graveyard Gambit. Voldemort meets a Slytherin opponent, Cold Stone. Wet grass. The faint metallic smell of his own blood on the air. The world snaps back into focus as the golden cage of light fades. Riddle's face, pale and reborn. The ring of black-robed figures. Wands loose at their sides, but not relaxed. Harry looks, catalogues, counts. 12, maybe 13. 2 at his back. One on the left with a limp. One on the right, whose hand trembles on his wand. He has been planning this, in a way, since first year. Not this graveyard, not this ritual, but this moment. Captured, outnumbered, apparently helpless. Snape's lectures on positioning. Moody's growled warnings about constant vigilance. Hermione's neat diagrams of line of fire and cover. They walk through his memory in a heartbeat as he tests the ropes at his wrists, feels the give, marks the nearest headstone he could reach if he dives. Voldemort speaks, and the Death Eaters flinch. Harry listens. Not to the words. He has heard that kind of speech before, in the common room when older Slytherins boast about blood and destiny. But to the cadence, the places where the circle shifts, where respect curdles into fear. Ruling through terror breeds resistance. He knows that from watching Malfoy try to bully the dorm and lose half of them to Harry's quieter alliances. When Voldemort finally turns, red eyes raking over green-trimmed robes torn and muddy, something like amusement flickers. Not the Gryffindor lion he expected. A snake who chose the same house and still defied him. Shared house, shared tongue, shared scar. Harry Potter, Voldemort says, tasting the name. Slytherin's prize, my house, my blood. Do you know what that makes you? Harry meets his gaze, says nothing. Lets the silence stretch until one of the masked figures shifts, uneasy. Voldemort circles him like a lecturer in a darkened classroom. You stand between worlds, raised by muggles, crowned by magic. The Ministry fears you. Dumbledore cages you. They will never let you be what you are. But he spreads his hands, pale and elegant. I understand ambition. I understand legacy. Walk with me, Harry. We will tear down their corrupt little bank, their Wizengamot fossils, their blood inheritance games. A new order. Our order. It is, Harry has to admit, a better offer than in the stories. No crude demand. No shouted threat. A job description. A future. There is a dry, bitter humour in that. The Dark Lord is making a more coherent career proposal than any Hogwarts pamphlet. He breathes once, twice, chooses his words like chess moves. You understand power, Harry says quietly, but not people. You torture your own. You kill for spectacle. You think fear is loyalty. That's bad politics. Terror makes enemies who have nothing left to lose. You don't build a world that way. You just burn it. A hiss ripples through the circle. Voldemort's smile thins. And you would do better? I won't be your blunt instrument, Harry answers. I won't spend my life cleaning up your mistakes. For a heartbeat, it is almost respectful, the way Voldemort inclines his head. So be it. The ropes fall away. The wands rise. The duel is arranged not as sport, but as demonstration. The Dark Lord reclaiming his legend, the Slytherin boy refusing to kneel. When their spells meet, gold and green colliding, the the Priori Incantatem web is more than a strange magical accident. It is the first move on an invisible board, two snakes testing coils, two visions for the wizarding world grinding against each other in a lattice of light. And as the ghosts begin to walk from Voldemort's wand, as Harry feels the weight of every choice pressing in, he realizes this graveyard is not an ending at all. It is the opening gambit, and somewhere beyond the smoke and tombstones, someone else is already moving, a piece he has not seen yet. Ministry, spin, and Slytherin, suspicion. The office is too bright and too cold for what Harry has just said. Grimmauld Place. Dust still seems to cling to his robes as he stands before the minister's desk. The graveyard is only hours behind him. The echo of Voldemort's voice, of the Cruciatus, of Cedric's body hitting stone, more than any description could contain. Cornelius Fudge's bowler hat sits on the polished wood, like a prop that has forgotten its actor. His hands tremble once, then still. He has been planning this, Harry realizes. Not the resurrection, not the duel, but this moment, the one where the Ministry chooses what the world will be allowed to know. A graveyard, Fudge says slowly. A ritual, and you know who? Returned. His eyes flick to the green trim on Harry's Hogwarts robes. And you, Mr. Potter, the Slytherin chosen one, were the only witness. The words land like a verdict. Not just chosen one. Slytherin, chosen one. In Fudge's mind, it is all one threat. Voldemort's return, and a boy in Slytherin who commands wards, speaks Parseltongue, and walks into Gringotts as Lord Potter Peveril. A living reminder that blood inheritance and old magic can overturn the careful post-war order with a signature or a speech. If he admits Voldemort is back, he admits Dumbledore was right. If he admits the prophecy hangs on a Slytherin heir, he admits the house he has spent a decade quietly marginalizing might now hold the balance of power. The Ministry he built on stability and fear of chaos could crack in a week. So he smiles instead. Too wide. You're tired, my boy. Confused. These stories could frighten people. By sunrise, the Daily Prophet has its script. Harry sees it at the Slytherin table, the paper slapping down beside his plate. Boy who lived or boy who lies, beneath a moving photograph of him in green and silver, eyes shadowed, wand raised. The article does not simply call him unstable. It paints him as a would-be Dark Lord, a clever Slytherin using fear to gather influence, to push laws, to claim seats in the Wizengamot. Some Slytherins read and smirk. Of course, the Ministry is afraid. Of course, a lord in their house would unsettle the fossils in plum robes. Others look at him more carefully. If he is lying, if this is a game for power, perhaps they should be close to him when the pieces fall, or far away. He hears whispers in the common room. He spoke Parseltongue in second year. He walks with auras now. He could be exactly what they say, or exactly what they fear. Hermione watches the prophet's pages like battle maps. She has been planning this in her own way, ever since she saw how easily a headline could twist a fact. She looks at him. She looks at the paper. A moment of understanding passes between them. We can't outshout them, she says quietly, so we outthink them. She builds networks the way she once built revision schedules, quiet study groups that trade eyewitness accounts instead of notes, enchanted copies of the Quibbler slipped into book bags, guides on how to read an article and ask who benefits, who is quoted, what is missing. She helps Harry draft statements that are measured instead of furious, precise instead of raw, not lies. Never that, just disciplined truth. When he speaks now in the Great Hall or to a cluster of wary Slytherins by the fire, he feels the weight of every word. They look at each other, these students who grew up on stories of the boy who lived as Gryffindor's golden child, and see instead a Slytherin lord standing between a frightened Ministry and a rising Dark Lord. That night, staring at the green canopy of his bed, Harry understands something he has been avoiding. From this point on, nothing he does will ever be just his choice. Every step will be read as Slytherin ambition or Slytherin betrayal, as prophecy fulfilled or defied, as politics, whether he likes it or not. 5th year, a Slytherin versus Umbridge's pink tyranny. The first time Dolores Umbridge sees Harry in Slytherin green, her smile flickers. Just a tremor at the corner of her mouth, quickly smoothed with lace and sugar. September 1995. The Great Hall. Fudge's senior undersecretary walks between the tables like an inspection made flesh. Pink cardigan, kitten brooch, and the soft click of sensible shoes on stone. She looks at Harry. She looks at the silver snake on his chest. Her eyes narrow, just once. A misled Gryffindor boy could be corrected, guided, wrapped in ministry-approved narratives. A Slytherin heir with a public blood inheritance declaration at Gringotts, with whispers of old wards and legal challenges and bank-sealed complaints against Dumbledore. That is something else entirely. That is potential. That is threat. She has been planning this year for months, drafting decrees, rehearsing speeches, arranging quiet conversations in Fudge's office, imagining a Hogwarts where the Ministry's word is law, where no one says Voldemort's name, where the boy who lived smiles dutifully for the prophet. Instead, she finds a Slytherin lord who looks at her like she's a problem to be solved. Her response is instinctive. Reward what looks familiar. Punish what does not. Traditional pure-blood Slytherins, Montague, Warrington, a cluster of older students with careful hair and old family rings, receive soft praise, lighter detentions, small privileges. She quotes their fathers at them, drops ministry names. Lets it be known that Slytherin House has always produced fine, respectable officials. But Harry is the boy who challenged the minister in public, who sent a letter to the prophet correcting their narrative, who walks the corridors like he knows everything is being recorded for some future trial. So she watches him. She questions him in class, needles his testimony, calls his scar attention-seeking. The house splits along that line. Those who crave ministry favour drift toward her, parroting her phrases about stability and proper authority. Others, half-bloods and quiet purebloods who remember last year's duels in the corridors, find themselves orbiting Harry instead. Slytherin becomes a room with two centres of gravity. When Hermione suggests teaching real defence, Harry does not imagine a club. He imagines a cell structure, compartmentalised, layered, deniable. He has been planning this since the train, tracing Umbridge's likely moves, remembering every goblin who ever said, "Never keep all your gold in one vault." They meet in the room of requirement, yes, but not as one mass. Small circles, staggered times, different cover stories. Hermione builds the rota, Harry builds the rules. No one knows every name. No one sees every meeting. If someone breaks, the whole thing does not shatter. Recruiting Slytherins is the hardest part. Some come because they believe him, because they saw a Dementor in Little Whinging splashed across the prophet, because their parents still wake at night from the last war. Others come because Umbridge favours them, and they like being close to every source of power at once. The first time a schedule leaks, a practice session colliding perfectly with a surprise inspection, Harry feels the cold, familiar bite of betrayal. He adjusts. Shorter meetings, false leads, a second, smaller group inside the first, bound by oath and by quiet, watching looks. A moment of understanding passes between them as he explains the new rules. This is not a game anymore, if it ever was. Umbridge answers with the inquisitorial squad. Badges, authority, the right to take points and drag students from corridors. On parchment, it is discipline. In practice, it is her private militia, drawn heavily from the Slytherins who chose her orbit over Harry's. They are not hunting a troublemaker. They are hunting a rival power centre in their own house. A boy who can stand at the Slytherin table and have half the snakes lean toward him instead of toward her. She means to crush him, not quietly, but in front of everyone. And Harry knows the next move has to be his. Snape, occlumency, and the battle for Harry's mind. The office is dark and smells of old potion smoke. Snape waits behind the desk, motionless, as if he has been planning this since the first whisper that Harry Potter wore green and silver instead of red and gold. A single candle burns low. The door shuts behind Harry with a soft, deliberate click. Legilimency, Snape says without preamble, is not only a weapon, it is how this world devours the careless. His eyes flick to the silver and green trim of Harry's robes. Particularly in your house. He paces once, slow, controlled. He talks of the Dark Lord, yes, of a mind like a hooked chain dragging through memories, but he also talks of the Wizengamot corridors, of Gringotts conference rooms, of bank managers and political rivals and journalists who will look at Harry and try to read every flinch, every hesitation, every unguarded thought. You're not merely a boy. Snape says. "You are a symbol, a seat in this war. Symbols that cannot control themselves are reassigned." Then the wand rises. Legilimens. The world tears sideways. Aunt Marge inflating. Dudley's fists. The cupboard. The first letter in emerald ink. Draco's smirk on the train. The Slytherin table looking up as Harry walks past. Some eyes calculating, some wary, some already hungry. James on a broom, laughing. Lily's voice. Soft and fierce. Green light. Snape staggers inside Harry's head. James's face, but not. Lily's eyes, but colder, weighing. And under it, coiled and bright, an ambition that does not quite match either of them. A Slytherin hunger to never be owned again by Dumbledore, by Voldemort, by anyone. It is more than any description could contain. Hatred spikes in Snape's chest, sharp and familiar. Something else threads through it. Thinner, more dangerous. The knowledge that if this boy survives, he will not stay small. The spell breaks. Harry is on his knees, breath ragged, knuckles white on the carpet. He hates this. Hates the way his worst moments have become a corridor Snape can walk down at will. But he also knows what it felt like when the wand touched his mind. Raw power. A map of where he is weakest. In a castle where Dumbledore watches, where Voldemort dreams of snakes and prophecy, where even classmates might sell stories to the prophet, that knowledge is not optional. It is survival. Again. The word becomes a drumbeat. Snape's voice cuts, criticizes, explains without kindness. He does not tell Harry that he sees flashes he does not expect. Hermione's hand gripping his in Gringotts, the goblin's eyes narrowing, the blood inheritance parchment unfurling like a verdict, Slytherins leaning toward Harry at dinner instead of toward Umbridge's favourites. Harry learns to sort, to take memories and stack them like files. Abuse in one drawer, strategy in another, fear in a third, locked. He imagines walls, then realizes walls are too obvious. So he builds masks instead, layers of thought that look plausible but led nowhere. He has been planning this between lessons, practicing when the dorm is quiet, when Hermione writes a letter and looks up to check if he is still there. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. Legilimens. This time, Snape hits a surface that gives, then slides him sideways into harmless recollections. Library tables, Quidditch practice, the gleam of potion glass. The real fears sit behind them, still, silent, unseen. Snape withdraws. His expression barely shifts, but something in his gaze has cooled from open contempt to wary assessment. Acceptable, he says. From him, in this office, it is almost praise. Harry walks back to the dungeons with his mind humming, aware now that the war will not be won only with wands and duels, but with stories, secrets, and the ability to decide what the world is allowed to see. Occlumency is no longer a mysterious art Snape hoards. It is a Slytherin tool he must master or be destroyed by. He reaches the common room entrance, gives the password, and steps through, already planning the next layer of his mind's defenses. He does not yet know who is waiting inside. Department of Mysteries. A trap reversed. The room is spinning and cold. A stone floor under his knees, a curtain of black rippling in a wind that does not exist. Harry is back in the Slytherin common room, breath ragged, one hand braced on the nearest chair. The vision of Sirius in the Department of Mysteries clings to him like smoke. In another life, he would already be running for the door. In this one, his first clear thought is, he has been planning this. He straightens slowly, forces himself to walk, not sprint, to the fire. Occlumency drills with Snape, late night sessions with Hermione, the way she made him practice naming every emotion before acting on it. All of it presses against the panic. Is this real? Or is Voldemort pushing images through the scar like a poisoned letter? He looks at her. She looks at him. Hermione is already there, book closed, quill set aside with deliberate care. She saw him fall. She saw his hand go to his scar. A moment of understanding passes between them. They move closer to the flames, voices low. They test the vision, not by arguing about feelings, but by treating it like a puzzle. Sirius should be at Grimmauld Place under Molly's watchful eye. The Order has rotations. The Ministry is on high alert. Hermione lists names, schedules, every scrap of information they know about current security. Harry, jaw set, pulls out a small rune-etched disc from his pocket, one of the quiet little protections they have been building all year. A a coded message through the flue, disguised as a question about a mundane household charm. A phrase only Sirius and Remus would recognize from an old black family story they unearthed in a Gringotts ledger. They send it, then wait, counting breaths, watching the emerald flames. The reply comes late, clipped, wrong in its rhythm. Hermione's fingers tighten around his wrist. The words are correct, but the cadence is off. Sirius did not write this. That is enough. They do not bring the entire DA. Harry chooses 6. Neville for quiet courage and plant magic that doubles as battlefield control. Luna, who sees angles no one else does. Ginny, precise and ruthless with a bat bogey hex. 2 Slytherins who have trained with him in secret, and Hermione at his side. Each with a role, each with a set of spells drilled until they are muscle memory. The Department of Mysteries is not a haunted maze tonight. It is a chessboard. Doors are lines of movement. Rooms are squares to be controlled or abandoned. They mark walls with faint rune glows, breadcrumbs only they can read. When the Death Eaters appear, masked, confident, certain they are hunting children, Harry is already pulling his people behind cover, not forward into glory. Strategic retreats instead of last stands. Luna lures 2 pursuers into the time room where Hermione's preset wards slam shut, trapping them among spinning hourglasses. Neville seeds the floor with conjured vines that yank ankles from under black robes. Ginny's curses flash from behind a fallen shelf, never from the same spot twice. He has been planning this, even if he did not know the exact night. The prophecy still shatters. Glass on stone, words lost to the air. Sirius's fate twists. A curse that should have knocked him through the veil slams into a ward. Harry anchored to the archway itself, sending Sirius sprawling but alive, bleeding, furious. Voldemort arrives to find not a panicked boy but a controlled withdrawal. Harry pulling his people back in stages, trading ground for time until Dumbledore and the Auras finally appear. The Ministry sees wreckage, stunned Death Eaters, and a Slytherin Harry Potter who did not play his assigned role. Voldemort sees a rival who will not charge when called. They look at each other across the atrium, and the war tilts just slightly, into something more than any description could contain. 6th year, prince, pawn, or power broker. The book is wrong. That is Harry's first thought as the potion on his table turns a perfect, luminous lilac while the rest of the class coughs in clouds of foul green steam. September, 6th year. Dungeon classroom, Slytherin-heavy NEWT potions. The battered advanced potion-making text sits open by his hand, margins dense with a stranger's cramped, decisive script. Cut clockwise, not Widdershins. Crush. Do not slice. Incantation altered, emphasis shifted. It reads like a conversation with someone who has been planning this for years. In Gryffindor, it might have felt like cheating. In Slytherin, it feels like recognition. A manual of clever shortcuts, quiet subversions. Spells that stand just on the edge of what Slughorn will admit is legal. Harry looks at the annotations and sees a mind that values the same things he has learned to prize. Efficiency, leverage, plausible deniability. He brings his cauldron forward. Slughorn beams, loud and expansive, praising Slytherin's newest star. Around them, green and silver robes shift, reassessing. Snape stands in the doorway, watching the class he did not get to keep. His eyes move from the flawless potion to the old textbook in Harry's hand, and something in his expression tightens. A Slytherin Harry outperforming everyone in potions is not a novelty. Doing it with a half-blood prince's playbook is. The dynamic between them, already a knot of house pride, old hatred, and reluctant respect, twists again. Student, rival, possible successor. Snape does not say the words, but Harry feels the weight of the evaluation every time those dark eyes settle on him in the corridor. The pattern holds outside the classroom. The prince's spells fit his house like a glove. Muffliato for private conversations in the common room alcoves. Subtle hexes that embarrass without leaving marks. Even the darker jinxes whisper to him of power taken, not begged for. He writes them down in his own hand, testing each one against Hermione's careful ethics and the Peveril grimoires locked by Goblin Seal. Then there is Draco. Harry has known the signs of a mission since the Ministry. The way someone walks when every step is part of a plan, not fully their own. The way eyes flick to exits, to weak points, to wands. He watches Draco grow paler, thinner, more desperate, slipping through secret passages, vanishing into the room of requirement. He looks at Draco and sees, uncomfortably, a mirror. a boy caught between an older Dark Lord and an older headmaster, both convinced they know everything. Enemy or fellow trapped Slytherin? The question will not leave him. Dumbledore's private lessons do not make it easier. In a high, cold office that smells of dust and sea salt memories, Harry studies Horcruxes, not as rumour, but as arithmetic. Soul-splitting, vessel-binding, ritual and recoil. The headmaster speaks softly, but what he offers is still forbidden knowledge, the kind the bank's contracts once swore to keep from him until he was older. Harry listens, takes notes, and feels the line he is walking. Understanding dark magic is a weapon. It's also a door. Once opened, can it ever fully close again? Pattern break. One evening, leaving a lesson on cursed rings and ruined hands, he glimpses Draco on the tower staircase, wand white-knuckled, face wet. Draco looks up. Harry looks back. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them, thin and fragile as spun glass. Above them, the lightning-struck tower waits, etched against a storm-heavy sky. Harry can feel the convergence building there. Snape's secrets, Draco's orders, Dumbledore's final calculations, his own choices. Whatever happens on those stones will define not only his path, but what Slytherin will mean in the war that is no longer coming, but already here. The Tower and the Serpent. Slytherin on the night of Dumbledore's fall. The tower is open and full of wind. Stone under his boots. The taste of metal in the air. Above, the dark mark burns over the lightning-struck parapets, green and cold, reflected in every shard of broken glass. Harry moves with the Death Eaters, hood up, steps measured. Not one of them. Close enough to touch. Draco is already there. He stands with his wand pointed at Dumbledore, hands shaking so badly the tip scribbles light against the night. Crabbe and Goyle hover behind him, pale and useless. Two older Slytherins Harry has been cultivating this year, Nott and Vasey, linger near the doorway, faces tight, caught between house loyalty and the sick knowledge of what this means. He has been planning this, Harry thinks. Not the attack. The list. Who can be moved? Who is already lost? He is under the invisibility cloak, body pressed against the cold stone, Dumbledore's silent command still binding his limbs. But the paralysis is not only spell work, it is arithmetic. If he stuns Draco now, Crabbe panics. Goyle fires blindly. Nott chooses a side. Spells in a tight space, ricocheting off stone, hitting the wrong chest. And below, in the corridors, Slytherins and Hufflepuffs and terrified first years walking back from late club meetings. Any move and could start a massacre. So he watches, counts wands, measures angles, remembers every map of the castle he and Hermione inked by hand, every escape route. He thinks of the letters he has already sent to Gringotts, the quiet protections on a handful of Slytherin family vaults, the legal levers waiting in the bank like coiled serpents. Voldemort wants chaos in the school. Dumbledore wants a clean story. Harry wants neither. When Snape arrives, the air itself seems to flinch. To Gryffindor eyes, the moment is simple: traitor, murder, green light. But Harry is Slytherin. He sees the layers, the promise in Snape's clenched jaw, the old bargain in Dumbledore's weary nod, the way Dumbledore's eyes, for a fraction of a second, flick toward where Harry stands, as if he can see through cloth and spell both. A moment of understanding passes between them. Not yet, not here. The curse is almost gentle in its speed. Mercy, maybe. Murder, certainly. Fulfillment of an oath. Harry only half understands, bound up with blood inheritance, Lily's protection, and whatever Dumbledore whispered in Snape's office months ago, when the door was warded so heavily, even Slytherins noticed. Afterward, Slytherin House is not one room. It is three. In one corner, a knot of students whisper and smirk, pretending not to be afraid, trading half-remembered stories of the Dark Lord as if they're talking about a Quidditch star. In another, younger children cry quietly, clutching blankets, asking if their parents will be arrested, if the war will walk through the wall tonight. And then there's the small circle around Harry. Nott, Visey, Daphne Greengrass, a first-year girl with ink on her fingers who's been helping Hermione reorganize the house library. They look at him the way they once looked at Dumbledore, as if he might know everything, as if he might have a plan that makes the world less terrifying. He looks at her. She looks at him. Hermione's not here, but the habit remains. He hears her voice anyway, calm and relentless. You cannot save everyone. Choose. Snape is now a wanted man. Their head of house is the monster in every story told tonight in the other common rooms. Some Slytherins are already drafting letters home, aligning with Voldemort before the Ministry can even print the headline. Others hover, waiting for a different banner to gather under. Harry realizes, in the dim green light of the common room, that he is out of time. He cannot be just a student hiding behind books and bank contracts, or a symbol other people project their hopes onto. He must become a broker of futures, deciding which Slytherins to shield with law and ward, which to confront head-on, which to let walk their chosen path into darkness. He begins, that night, to write 3 lists. By morning, one of the names on the first list will already be missing. Deathly Hallows, a Slytherin on the run. The forest is not silent. It is full of owls and distant cracks of apparition, like bones snapping in the dark. Hours after Dumbledore falls, Harry walks away from Hogwarts with no trunk, no owl, no timetable. Only a bag. Inside, the locket that is not a locket, Hermione's shrunken library, a folded copy of Dumbledore's last letter, and 3 lists written in his cramped, unslept hand. Known Horcruxes, suspected locations, potential allies. He's been planning this without admitting it to himself, every time he traced Tom Riddle's path on a map. Every time he watched a Slytherin prefect take points with a quiet word instead of a shouted hex. Now the planning is no longer theoretical. The war has stepped out of the shadows. So does he. At the safe house Hermione chose, a cottage wrapped in layered wards and runes that hum against his skin, he spreads the lists on the table. The first is short. Diary, destroyed. Ring, destroyed. Locket, in his bag. Snake, living. Cup, unknown. Something of Ravenclaw or Gryffindor. Himself. The second list is longer. Gringotts, Hogwarts, the Gaunt Shack, Nurmengard, old forests and older lakes, places where a boy named Tom learned that the world would never give him anything freely, so he took. The third list is the strangest, and the most Slytherin. Former classmates, neutral Slytherin families, 2 junior Aurors who looked at him in 5th year, with something like doubt rather than hatred, a ministry clerk in magical law enforcement whose cousin owes the House of Black a favour, a Death Eater whose mask slipped for 1 heartbeat during a meeting, just enough for Harry to see fear. He looks at her. She looks at him. Hermione's hair is pulled back, ink on her fingers, exhaustion in the set of her shoulders. She reads the names, does not flinch when she reaches the last column, labelled in his careful script, marked but movable. "We are going to lie," he says quietly. "A lot." Hermione nods once. "We are going to choose who lives and who goes to Azkaban. That's worse." A moment of understanding passes between them. Gryffindor morality has not vanished. It has been forced to put on a green and silver cloak. Ron paces instead of sitting. He keeps looking at the word contacts, as if it personally offended him. Espionage is not a game of chess to him. It is sneaking around when he wants to swing a bat at the problem. "So, we talk to Malfoy now, to people who tried to kill us." "Yes," Harry answers, "if they give us what we need." He does not soften it. Ron deserves the truth, not a story. They move through a magical world, slipping into open war under borrowed faces. Polyjuice, glamours, forged letters on ministry parchment. Hermione forges signatures with terrifying precision. Ron plays a disgruntled clerk so well that a senior official complains to him about Muggle-born regulations. Harry lets people underestimate him, lets them think he is a courier, a scribe, a cousin from the country. He meets a former Slytherin chaser in a shuttered pub, offers warded safe passage for her younger siblings if she writes down every address she ever heard in the common room, whispered with awe and fear. He corners a reluctant Death Eater outside Gringotts, offers a future amnesty sealed by goblin witnesses in exchange for schedules, passwords, the pattern of the Dark Lord's disappearances. More than any description could contain, the web her grows. Threads of obligation, of law, of promise. He has been planning this without knowing what it would make of him. Not just a resistance leader, but an arbiter. One night, staring at his third list, Harry understands. He is not only arranging how to win the war, he is sketching the bones of the world that will come after. In that world, Slytherin will either be folded into the fabric of Wizarding Britain, given a place, a path, a way to atone, or it will be hunted as a house of traitors and monsters. Which future takes shape will depend on how he plays each name, each bargain, each quiet promise made in the dark. The Battle of Hogwarts. Green banners in the final stand. The castle is already awake and whispering when he steps through the gates. Stone, torchlight, the smell of smoke and wet earth. It feels like walking into a memory he has been rewriting for 7 years. Hogwarts. Not just the Great Hall, not just the Gryffindor banners that never belonged to him. The path in his mind bends left, downward, into cool stone and green light. The Slytherin common room waits beneath the lake, glass dark and watchful. The place where his house learned to look at him as more than a legend and less than a savior. He has been planning this since the first whisper of Horcrux, since the first time he saw fear in a Slytherin prefect's eyes when Voldemort's name was spoken. Names, favors, quiet bargains, detention partners who copied his notes, Quidditch allies who covered for his late-night flights, older students whose parents sat on both sides of the Wizengamot. He walks through the wall, and they are there, older now, sharper, already packed to flee. They look at each other. The room holds its breath. Harry names debts without raising his wand. The time he covered for a smuggled potions ingredient. The unsigned letter he ensured reached Gringotts. The cousin he testified for in a closed hearing. Slytherins remember. That is their magic. He does not ask them to die for Dumbledore. He lays out a map of the world Voldemort is building. Endless purges, loyalty tests, blood inheritance twisted into a weapon that never stops cutting. No safety, only a slower death for those who kneel. What does survival mean, he asks, if you are never allowed to stop proving you deserve to live? Some flinch. Some look away. Few slip out to find their parents among the evacuees, choosing family over war. One boy with a serpent pin on his collar walks straight past Harry, out of the room, toward the forest, and the Dark Lord he thinks he understands. But a core stays, not because they love him, but because they know he is right. Green and silver scarves are retied, not hidden. Wands checked, sleeves rolled. A girl whose aunt wears a skull mask on her arm says, very calmly, that she would rather choose her side than wait to be chosen for culling. In the Great Hall, when McGonagall calls for fighters, there is a pattern interrupt no one expected. A knot of Slytherins steps forward together. They do not cross to Gryffindor. They form their own line. Harry stands with them, then nods once to Hermione across the room. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them, more than any description could contain. On the battlements, Slytherin tactics change everything. Illusions of open doors lead Death Eaters into dead-end corridors. Vanished staircases drop attackers into shielded rooms where stunned bodies pile up instead of corpses. A feigned retreat in the courtyard draws giants into a crossfire of cursed chains and collapsing stone. Misinformation flows like water. A whispered report that the Elder Wand lies in the astronomy tower sends Voldemort's best away from the true fight for the grounds. Each lie buys minutes. Each minute saves lives. By dawn, when Harry walks back into the shattered hall to face his fate, he does not stand alone as a lone Gryffindor boy. He stands at the front of a Slytherin-led coalition, green banners hanging beside gold, blue, and black. Voldemort looks at the house he thought he owned and sees its future standing with his greatest enemy. And in that moment, he understands that he has already lost something he can never reclaim. The final forest walk, a Slytherin sacrifice. The forest is open and full of breath, cold, damp, waiting. Harry walks beneath the branches, as if stepping into a contract he has already read 3 times. The battle still roars behind him, muffled by trees and fog, but his world has narrowed to the crunch of leaves, the faint thrum of the Hallows at his belt, the weight of every choice that led Slytherin House to stand against the man who once called it his own. He has been planning this in one form or another since 3rd year. Not the death itself, the mechanism, the cost-benefit. The old Peveril notes on sacrificial protections, the way his mother's choice rewrote the curse that should have killed him, the way love, freely given, can twist dark magic sideways and make it misfire. He knows now that if he walks in unarmed, accepts death without resistance, the protection can spread like a ward over everyone still fighting. A Slytherin does not throw his life away, but a Slytherin will invest if the return is absolute. He thinks of the green and silver banners hanging beside gold, blue, and black, of 6th year strategy sessions in the Slytherin common room, maps of Hogwarts on the table, Draco tracing patrol routes while Pansy quietly listed which parents sat where in the Wizengamot. That house taught him to survive, to plan, to see the board entire. It gave him language for power, for legacy, for what it meant to be Harry Potter, and also something older, something Peveril. He could have ruled that dungeon like a king. He could have gone further. There were paths. A Slytherin golden boy aligning pure blood blocks, reforming from above instead of burning from below, marrying alliances, not just friendships, taking the Elder Wand openly, not as a secret. There is a version of this knight where he does not walk to his death, but to a throne. The resurrection stone turns between his fingers, cold, rough, familiar. When his parents and Sirius and Remus come, they are not the only shapes he sees. For a heartbeat, the magic shows him something else. A hall rebuilt with green at its center. Ministry chambers where he speaks and the room falls silent. A world where the boy in Slytherin learns every lesson about power and never once lays it down. It is seductive in its clarity, efficient, clean. He looks at them, they look at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. They know he could do it. They know he will not. Is it enough? He asks. But the question is not about fear. It is about strategy. About whether this single act can end the cycle that made Tom Riddle and almost made him. His mother's answer is simple and terrible. It has to be. Voldemort waits in the clearing, like a judge who has already written his verdict. When Harry steps out, unarmed, the Death Eaters shift, unsettled. The Dark Lord feels it too. Contempt comes first, sharp and reflexive. Potter the Fool, throwing away leverage, walking from a Slytherin-led coalition into execution. But beneath that, something twists. Fear. Not of the boy, but of the choice. Because if a Slytherin, trained in survival and ambition and the clean arithmetic of power, can look at the world and still choose love over dominion, what does that say about the creed Voldemort built his life on? The curse hits. The forest flares green. For a moment, there is nothing. And then, in the space where Harry Potter should be gone, something older than any house stirs, reshapes itself, and begins to decide what kind of Slytherin will walk back out of the trees. King's Cross and the choice of the Serpent's Path. The station is empty and full of light. Then the light sharpens, resolves into arches and ironwork, and the faint, distant echo of trains that never quite arrive. King's Cross, again, but washed clean. White tiles, white benches, white sky. Only at the edges, where the brightness frays, something else shimmers. A low stone wall, just out of focus. A hint of green and silver, like the Slytherin common room is waiting behind a veil. Harry stands barefoot on the smooth floor. His robes are neither Gryffindor red nor Slytherin green, just black, simple, hanging straight. He looks toward the shimmer and feels, absurdly, like if he walks far enough, he'll find the lake window, the green-lit water, the sofas where he planned his first quiet rebellions. He has been planning this without knowing it, every time he weighed a risk. Every time he turned a rule sideways to see how it could be bent. Every time he chose secrecy over spectacle. The forest is gone. The pain is gone. Only the choice remains. Beautiful, isn't it? Dumbledore's voice, warm, amused, carrying easily through the white space. A sort of way station. Between one walk and the next, Harry turns. Dumbledore is as he remembers from first year. Half-moon glasses, crooked nose, robes that seem to hold all the colours of the world at once. But when the old man's eyes flicker toward that far-off green, there's no surprise in them. "You knew," Harry says. Not a question. "I suspected," Dumbledore answers. From the moment the sorting hat whispered in my ear that it had been overruled, he smiles, thin and rueful. Its first instinct was correct, Harry. You were always suited to Slytherin. Ambitious, resourceful, keenly aware of power and of how others might use it. Harry lets the words settle. He remembers the hat's hiss, the pull toward the dungeons, the way he almost said yes. He remembers Draco's offered hand, Snape's assessing looks, the way the house bent around the boy who lived and then tested him over and over to see whether he was theirs. "And that made me useful to you," Harry says. "A Slytherin who could still believe in your war. Someone who could outmaneuver Voldemort by thinking like him." Dumbledore's eyes are tired. "It made you necessary. Tom Riddle was a Slytherin who severed himself from love to pursue ambition. You were a Slytherin who refused to sever anything. I hoped that difference would matter. They walk, without deciding to, along the empty platform. The green shimmer keeps pace with them at the edges of sight. Did it? Harry asks. All the secrets, the half-truths, the way you nudged me towards certain choices and away from others. My deals with Snape, the quiet alliances in the house, the lies I told my friends so they wouldn't see how close I was walking to Voldemort's shadow. Was any of that justified? Dumbledore is silent for several steps. You learn to manipulate, to plan, to sacrifice, he says at last. Those are Slytherin virtues, and you used them against a man who would have used them to enslave the world. That is no small thing. But, Harry prompts, but such tools leave marks, Dumbledore admits, on those who wield them, as much as on those they are used against. I worried, sometimes, that in teaching you to play his game, we might lose the boy who once asked the Hat not to put him in Slytherin because he did not wish to be like the ones who sneered at his friends. Harry thinks of first-year corridors, of Ron's stiff back at the Gryffindor table, of Hermione standing between houses with a book in one hand and a wand in the other, refusing to choose between courage and cunning. He looks at the green shimmer and, for a heartbeat, it looks back. I stopped asking that, he says quietly. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being afraid of Slytherin and started being afraid of wasting what it gave me. Ambition without empathy is tyranny. I've seen that. But empathy without strategy is suicide. I've seen that too. He pauses, testing the words, knowing they are the closest thing he has to a creed. So I chose a third path. I used Slytherin means to protect Gryffindor ends. I lied so my friends could live. I bargained so fewer names went on the memorial. If my soul is stained, it's stained on purpose. A moment of understanding passes between them. Dumbledore's gaze softens. You forged something Tom never could, Harry. A house inside yourself, where cunning and compassion sit at the same table. Then this isn't about going back as your idea of a hero, Harry says. He looks down the platform toward where the tracks should be. The green at the edges brightens, threads of silver curling through it like riverlight. It's about going back as mine. As the Slytherin you are, Dumbledore agrees, who knows the cost of power and chooses still to bear it. The train is not a train at all when it arrives. It is a rush of wind, a sense of direction, a pull toward pain and noise, and the smell of earth in the forbidden forest. Harry feels the Horcrux fragment that once shared his scar stir, shudder, and fall away like ash. He steps toward the edge. For a moment he wonders what would happen if he turned instead, walked into that green-lit common room that waits just beyond sight. Let the world think the boy who lived is finally gone, while he builds something new in the shadows. He almost smiles. That would be a very Slytherin thing to do. But somewhere beyond this white station, Hermione is waiting, counting on the plan they never spoke aloud, but both understood. He looks at her. She looks at him, not with eyes, but with every shared decision, every argument in the library, every quiet night in the Slytherin common room when they mapped out futures no prophecy had space for. So, Harry says, not a Gryffindor martyr, not a Dark Lord's heir. He straightens. Just Harry, just a Slytherin who knows exactly what he's walking back into. Dumbledore inclines his head as if in acknowledgement of an equal. That, he says, will be quite enough. Harry steps forward. The station, the green shimmer, the old man's kind, dangerous eyes. All of it tears away in an instant that is more than any description could contain. And when he opens his eyes in the forest, it will not be as a boy chosen by a hat, but as a man who finally chose himself. Aftermath. Rebuilding a world that fears Slytherin. The hall is bright and merciless. No banners, no house colours, only rows of chairs and the slow, scraping shuffle of chains. A week after the forest, after Voldemort's body hits the ground and the echoes finally die, Harry sits in the front row of a hastily converted courtroom. The atrium above is still cracked from falling giants. Smoke stains, shattered tiles, a fountain half rebuilt. The world is trying to pretend it remembers how to be ordinary while standing on a battlefield. They call names. Slytherin names, mostly. Death Eaters with bare arms and exposed dark marks. Parents who claimed imperious until the words sound thin. Students who look too young for the iron cuffs on their wrists. Pansy Parkinson, Theodore Nott. a seventh year who once refused to hex a first year and now stands between two auras, shaking. He has been planning this in his own quiet way since second year. Since Parseltongue and the chamber and the way the school looked at him like a monster that had almost fit too well. He knows what it is to have a house judged by a story it never chose. When the Wizengamot murmurs for death sentences, for blanket Azkaban terms, Harry stands. Robes plain, ring of Peveril and Potter and black glinting under the harsh light. The room looks at him the way Hogwarts once did, waiting to see which side of the legend will speak. Some of them believed, he says, voice steady. Some of them didn't. If we pretend that doesn't matter, we're already building the next Dark Lord. Pattern interrupt. An old aura in scarlet robes, Gryffindor, through and through, slams a fist on the rail. They wore the mark, Potter, Slytherin to the core. Harry almost laughs. The sound never quite makes it out. So did Snape, he answers. And without him, I'd be dead, and Voldemort would be sitting in your chair. Hermione sits 2 benches behind. Quill moving in tight, controlled strokes. Draft statutes, comparative precedents, magical contract frameworks to separate coerced service from willing cruelty. She has parchments stacked beside her, a small, precise fortress of law. Educational reform proposals. A plan to untangle the Hogwarts house system from blood prejudice, to make ambition and courage and knowledge and loyalty less like prison walls and more like lenses students can look through, trade, question. Ron is on Harry's other side. No quill, no parchment, just clenched hands and eyes that still flinch at certain surnames. He is the voice that says the thing half the survivors are thinking. How do you ask people to forgive, Ron mutters, when they still wake up hearing Carrow laughter? Harry doesn't look away from the chained defendants. I'm not asking them to forgive, he says. I'm asking them to distinguish. A moment of understanding passes between them. Ron does not like it, but he understands it. The trials stretch into weeks, harsh sentences for the true believers who brag on the stand, who speak of muggleborns as if Hermione is not in the room. Leniency, probation, enforced service in rebuilding teams for those whose memories show Cruciatus scars and Veritaserum-proved threats. Structural reforms slide in alongside verdicts. Mandatory ethics in magical law at Hogwarts, mixed house study cohorts, a rewritten sorting protocol that treats the Hat's first year as provisional, not a life sentence. Hermione codifies it all, her name inked beside Harry's on each proposed act. Granger Dagworth Education Bill, Peveril Potter Accountability Charter. More than any description could contain, these letters on parchment begin to move the world. Not everyone is pleased. Old Gryffindors grumble that he is defending Slytherin. Ministry officials send him polite, poisonous letters suggesting that, for unity's sake, the boy who lived might accept honorary Gryffindor status. Let the green and silver fade quietly into the background of the story. He meets Hermione and Ron outside Gringotts one evening, the bank doors gleaming behind them, the alley still half-boarded. She has one such letter folded in her hand. They want you to change houses in the history books, she says. He looks at her. She looks at him, then at Ron. So do I, Ron admits, raw and honest. Sometimes. Harry breathes in the cool, broken air of Diagon Alley. If Slytherin can only be redeemed by erasing it, he says, we haven't redeemed anything. We've just lied better. He walks away from the offer, keeps the serpent on his crest, the green in his house ring, refuses to let the world tidy him into a safer colour. Redemption, if it is real, will have to learn to look at Slytherin and stay. And Hogwarts, waiting on the hill, is about to be asked whether it can do exactly that. Legacy of the Serpent, Harry's Slytherin future. The dungeon is warm and green with firelight. Years later, Harry stands just outside the stone wall, fingers resting on cool rock that once opened at his password. 40-year-old Aura, former head of the DMLE. Reluctant minister who never stopped looking over his shoulder for the next Dark Lord that might grow in a classroom he ignored. He has been planning this visit since the last war inquiry closed. Minister Potter. The title still sits oddly on him, like robes cut for someone taller. He did his years on the front line first, stalking cursed safe houses, tracing blood rituals back through Gringotts ledgers and forgotten bank vaults. Then he turned sideways into policy, into the slow work of dismantling laws that made blood supremacy profitable. Each promotion felt like a trap and a tool at once, but he kept taking them because he knows exactly what happens when ambitious Slytherins are left only one path. The wall parts. The common room looks back at him. It is, and is not the place he remembers. The lake light still shivers green across the ceiling, but the banners have changed. The old, threadbare tapestry praising the noble 28 is gone, replaced by a long strip of silk that reads, "Ambition in all bloods," in neat silver script. There are photographs framed along one wall. Andromeda Tonks in healer robes, a young muggle-born Slytherin arithmancer, a black and white picture of Professor Snape caught in a rare, unwilling half-smile. On the far end, in pride of place, a moving photograph of Harry at 17, standing in these same colours, wand lowered after the final duel. Someone has charmed small serpents of light to curl around the frame. He walks in. Conversations dip, then swell again. A few students stare openly. One whispers, not quietly enough, "He's the one who made it, so my dad didn't disown me for being in green." Harry's mouth twitches. Understated irony that the house once used to threaten him now uses his name as a shield. At home, the legacy is gentler and sharper at once. James Sirius had gone to the sorting with a grin, daring the hat to surprise him. Albus had walked more slowly, thinking of every letter his father ever answered from scared Muggleborns and stiff purebloods. Lily had simply said she would sit where she was needed. He looks at them. She looks at him. Ginny's hand had found his under the table as each child's choice came. They grew up on a different story. Bedtime tales where Slytherins hid Muggleborns in secret passages, where Regulus Black died a traitor to Voldemort, where cunning was the art of finding a third path when the world insisted on two. When the hat murmured in their ears about green, none of them flinched. Whether they wore red, blue, yellow, or silver, they knew Slytherin was not a sentence, but a language. Hogwarts itself has shifted under the pressure of that language. Inter-house dueling teams, mixed study groups in ancient runes, mentorship circles where 7th-year Slytherins sponsor first-year Hufflepuffs through their first terrifying week. There are still feuds, still snarled insults in corridors, but the lines are blurred. A Ravenclaw prefect and a Slytherin chaser co-write a proposal for safer Quidditch brooms, and McGonagall signs it with a thin, approving smile. Harry sits by the fire with the current Slytherin prefects, listening more than he speaks. They ask about policy, about how to argue in the Wizengamot without being dismissed as snakes. One girl, Muggle-born, fingers the green trim on her sleeve and says, "You made it possible for me to be this and still go home for Christmas." A moment of understanding passes between them, more than any description could contain. Later, when he walks back up toward the Great Hall, the castle feels different and exactly the same. Stones underfoot, portraits murmuring, the sense of a story that has not ended with a single battle. The war against Voldemort closed one chapter. The real work lives in every timetable that mixes houses, in every cautious friendship that crosses colours, in every young Slytherin who chooses ambition and justice in the same breath. The serpent on his ring catches the torchlight, cunning and kind, ambitious and just. Slytherin and something more. The future, he knows, will be written there in those quiet, stubborn choices. What this AU reveals about Harry and about us. The serpent gleams once, then is still. The hall is noisy again, but something in the air has shifted, subtle as a new current in the Black Lake. Looking back along this Slytherin path, the first divergences look almost small. A boy sits under a hat and does not say, "Not Slytherin." He walks to a different table. Ron's face closes. Draco's eyes sharpen with interest instead of scorn. Snape, seeing green and silver under that familiar messy hair, hesitates for half a heartbeat before the old hatred returns, redirected now into something more complicated than point deductions. From there, the ripples widen. Harry's friendship with Draco is wary, edged with rivalry and reluctant respect, not instant camaraderie. His relationship with Snape becomes a cold, grinding stalemate inside the same house. Detentions and late-night patrols turning into a long, unwilling study of each other's wounds. He's been planning this without knowing it. Every time he bends a rule for a friend, every time he slips through shadows instead of standing in the middle of the room. Slytherin gives him language for instincts canon never names. Ambition is no longer a dirty word. It is the quiet decision to reform his house from within, to pull younger snakes away from Death Eater parents and towards something else. Resourcefulness is not a surprise talent, it is expected. When he organises Slytherin prefects to challenge blood supremacist talk in their own common room, when he uses political awareness to read the undercurrents of the staff table, he is simply being the Harry we already know, seen from a different angle. Because in canon, He is already the boy who forms secret armies, steals from professors, lies to authority, and walks into forbidden chambers on purpose. He already believes the rules are negotiable when lives are at stake. Slytherin does not create that. It names it, it sharpens it, and in doing so, it breaks the old, easy story about houses. Bravery does not vanish just because his tie is green. It just looks different when he stands up to his own housemates instead of Malfoy across the aisle. Loyalty is not confined to red and gold. It shows in the way he shields a frightened first year whose father wears a mask. Ambition is not the enemy of love. It is the engine that lets him imagine a Slytherin where Muggle-borns do not flinch at the door. The methods, though, are different. Slytherin offers subtler tools. Blackmail instead of hexes. Quiet alliances instead of public speeches. Carefully leaked letters to the prophet instead of shouting matches in the Great Hall. When does using those tools become necessary strategy? And when does it become the first step toward becoming the thing he fights? Dumbledore will speak of greater good and necessary losses. Voldemort will speak of power and destiny. Harry, caught between them, tests the line every time he chooses to manipulate rather than confront, to expose a corrupt governor through Gringotts records instead of a duel. He looks at her. She looks at him. Hermione's raised eyebrow, his reluctant nod. A moment of understanding passes between them as they decide which secrets to keep and which to drag into the light. Their Slytherin methods never quite match Voldemort's, but they are not Dumbledore's either, and that tension is where the moral weight of this AU lives. And under all of it runs a quieter question, reaching past the walls of Hogwarts into our own world. If a single choice at 11 can turn the boy who lived into the boy who reformed Slytherin, what does that say about the labels we wear? House, family, school, job, country. How much of us is chosen, and how much is the room we first walk into? The colours draped over our shoulders before we know everything we could be? The pattern interrupts itself here. Imagine, for a moment, sitting under the hat again. Not in Hogwarts, but in your own life. No banners. No cheering tables. Just that quiet voice asking not what you are, but what you could grow toward. Would you pick the same house? The same friends? The same methods? They look at each other, these older versions of Harry and Hermione, in a Slytherin common room that no longer quite matches the stories. Cunning and courage share a sofa. Ambition and kindness study at the same table. The future is still unwritten, but the question this AU leaves behind is simple and sharp. If our environments can change Harry this much, how far could we change if we let ourselves step across the room? If you woke up in green and silver, your first move. The chamber is open and full of whispers, not the chamber. A chamber, a low ceiling. Green light moving like water across stone. The Slytherin common room on that first night, when the cheers have faded and the fire has burned down to embers. Harry lies awake on a narrow bed in the first-year boys' dormitory, staring up at the stone canopy, listening to the river press against the windows. He has been planning this without knowing he was planning it. Every time he imagined Hogwarts as escape, every time he wondered what it would be like to belong somewhere. Now the Sorting Hat's last word still echoes in his skull. Slytherin. The tie at his throat is green and silver. The question arrives, quiet and sharp. If you opened your eyes here as Harry Potter, Slytherin, what is the first alliance or rivalry you would choose? Do you turn your head, meet Draco Malfoy's pale, assessing look across the room, and decide that protection is worth the price of his arrogance? He is already a prince in this house, already knows every corridor, every family name. You could walk at his shoulder, let his father's influence and Snape's favoritism close around you like armor, trade freedom for safety in a world that has never once been safe. Or do you wait until morning? Until the Great Hall? Until you catch Hermione's eye at the Gryffindor table, her hand tight around a book, her mind already turning over everything she has seen? He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them that no banner colour can erase. Do you risk the sidelong glares and whispered slurs to sit with her in the library, to build a quiet bridge across house lines, to decide that your first real alliance will not be chosen for you by a hat or a ghost or a war you barely understand? There is another path. You could decide, in that narrow bed, that Slytherin will not own you at all, that from the first day you will try to reform it, to find the ones who flinch at the word mudblood, who hesitate when Draco laughs too loudly, who know the old stories are rotting but have never had permission to say so. Imagine Harry using his fame like a blade and a shield at once, turning the House of the Serpent into a house of sharp-eyed skeptics instead of eager recruits. Which instinct moves you first? Self-preservation, justice, belonging? How would those instincts survive in a house that prizes ambition, that teaches you to calculate before you leap, that rewards you for secrets instead of speeches? Hold that answer in your mind and walk forward with him into the troll corridor, where a Slytherin Harry has to decide whether he crosses lines to save a Gryffindor girl. Into the chamber descent, where being a Parselmouth in green and silver changes every accusation. Into the graveyard, when Voldemort offers him a place at his side, and the Death Eaters look at him as possible heir instead of enemy. Into the final walk into the forest, when cunning has to kneel beside courage and decide what kind of legacy it wants. Tell me in the comments what you would do in those moments. Name your first ally. Name your first rival. Because the answers you give here will not just sit under this video. They can shape future episodes, side stories, whole strands of this AU. More than any description could contain, this world is wide enough for your version of Slytherin Harry too. Closing the circle, from the common room to the cold open. So let's walk back down, together, to where it started. Stone walls, green light, water moving somewhere beyond the glass. The Slytherin common room is quiet in the way old places are quiet, full of whispers that never quite fade. Harry sits in that high-backed chair, sorting hat in his hands, the lake's shadows sliding over the floor like they are listening too. He has been planning this, though he does not have words for it yet, planning every defiant look, every careful compromise, every time he chose to bend instead of break. The hat's brim brushes his scar. It knows about the blood inheritance he has not claimed, the prophecy he has not heard, the wars he has not yet walked into. It also knows what we know now, that Slytherin is not the twist, only the lens. The whispers in the walls are different after everything you have seen. You can almost hear Snape's voice in them. Sharp and unwillingly protective. Draco's, half challenge and half envy. Hermione's, precise and relentless as she reshelves the entire magical world in her mind to make room for a Slytherin Harry who still insists on being kind. He looks at her. She looks at him. In this version, she sits across from him at the green draped table, quill in hand, already drafting letters to the bank and questions for Dumbledore. Because that has been the thesis of this whole journey. One choice at 11 does not change who Harry is, but it absolutely changes how the world forces him to grow. Gryffindor Harry is pushed to be brave in public. Slytherin Harry is pushed to be careful in private. Same boy, same scar, same instinct to run toward the troll, the stone, the chamber. Different tools, different allies, different people watching from the shadows, trying to decide whether to own him, fear him, or follow him. You have watched him learn that Parseltongue is not just a curse, but a key, that house tables are not moral categories, that politics is just another kind of duel fought with titles, favours, and who sits where. You have watched him walk the thin line between serpent and saviour, between the common room's green fire and the great hall's judging candles. So here is where you come in. If this alternate Slytherin Harry has made you think differently about the books, like this video, subscribe and share it with the friend who always argued he should have gone to the dungeons. Tell me in the comments, what was your favourite divergence point? Was it the first potions lesson under Snape's own banner? The rewritten stone heist with Slytherin allies? The moment Draco hesitated? Or something quieter that only you noticed? And if you want to keep walking these other corridors, there is more waiting. A world where Hermione wears green and silver from day one, where Draco is redeemed on purpose instead of by accident, where Dumbledore's plans start 3 moves earlier and go 3 moves too far. The lamps in the Slytherin common room dim. The lake outside shifts from green to black. Somewhere, in some timeline, Harry Potter still sits there in shadow and silver, the hat heavy in his hands, planning how to save a world that never trusted his house. He lifts it. What does it whisper next?